the sun glistening off Lake Ontario. Hey, it's a beautiful day for football, so sit back and enjoy it. The Argos and Bombers in a Saturday afternooner at Skydome. Hey everybody, welcome to the CFL Live. I'm James Duthie along with Messrs. Tillman and Schultz. And hey, for the first time all year, we get to see the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on a winning streak. So it's only one game, but baby steps, guys. Baby steps. They will have their hands full today, though, with Daryl Mitchell and what is a potentially explosive Argos offense, Eric.
Well, James, over the last year and a half, these two teams have played 5 times, and Toronto not only has won all 5, but they've averaged almost 40 points a game. Now, Winnipeg loves to blitz, but I think to do that again today would be a major mistake. I think they need to be more conservative, rush 4, drop 8, and make the Argos move the ball methodically down the field. You know, it's a game of talent, Chris, but it's also a game of coaching.
Well, I agree, Eric. I really think Winnipeg should rush 4 and drop 8, and I'll tell you why. It's because Ashante Peoples is back on the defensive side of the football, starting at outside linebacker, and he's a classic outside pass rusher, and he's going to help that defense. On the other side, Milt Stegall will start at slot back, and he's remarkable. He truly influences safeties, stretches a defense, and he averaged 26.5 yards per catch, an unbelievable statistic. James, 2 players, Milt Stegall, Ashante Peoples, they're going to make a difference for Winnipeg this afternoon.
And, of course, the other relative newcomer is Troy Kopp, who led them to the comeback victory last week. We'll see today if he plays good cop or bad cop. With more on that and the game, let's take you out to Skydome. Here's Rod Smith and Glenn Suter.
Thank you, James. Hey, football is fun again in Winnipeg. Can you believe it? Last week, Troy Kopp, the story. They didn't even know anything about this guy. They all know who he is now.
What a great story for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Troy Kopp was inserted into the game around the 3rd quarter and put up 171 yards passing, a couple of touchdown passes, really generated 4 touchdowns, and brought the Winnipeg Blue Bombers back to beat Saskatchewan and provided the spark that offense has been looking for. This guy has a linebacker-type mentality. Jeff Reinbold said he has never seen the personality of a team change quicker than it did when Troy Kopp was put into the football game. The team started to believe in itself and started to play with purpose.
A week ago here at Skydome, the Argos improved to 6-5, beating a much-improved BC Lions team. And one of the big reasons why, again, Daryl Mitchell in his 2nd year, absolutely awesome, 4 touchdowns last week.
No sophomore jinx for Daryl Mitchell. This guy is going to break some records in the CFL this year. He's on pace to smash Alan Pitt's record for catches in a single season by probably around 31, and he'll be close to the yardage in a single season. Daryl Mitchell's on pace for close to 2,000 yards. If I'm the Winnipeg defense, I am triple covering Daryl Mitchell, making Kerwin Bell throw the ball to someone else.
It's hard to believe that a team with a record of 1-10 could be optimistic, but you look at every player with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and you can see a difference on that club. Of course, so much of it the rest of the way hinges on whether Troy can be the good cop the rest of the way. James?
All right, thank you, gentlemen. And don't forget, Winnipeg's still in the playoff hunt. They won't catch Toronto, but they could catch BC and Saskatchewan and sneak in on the crossover. Kickoff is coming up, folks. Stay tuned. Football is next.
CFL Live on TSN is brought to you by Gatorade. Is it in you? And by the Keg Steakhouse and Bar. For great steaks, good friends. See you tonight.
Back at Skydome as the Argos prepare for a football game. One of their teammates is very near and dear to their hearts at this moment. Slot back Norm Casola. Number 80 is stricken with cancer, is seriously ill in his home in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Most of the team only found out about this a couple of days ago. They will wear his number on their helmets the rest of the way. And yesterday, head coach Don Matthews expressed the team's hopes for Norm and also what it means to keep his number close by for the rest of the season.
What we've decided to do is we're going to wear his number on our helmet to join him in his fight against cancer. And that's what the symbol is. It's a joining. Also, if we can do anything as a cancer awareness because of this, then that will also happen.
The sign says it all. Norm Casola has been with the Argos since 1994, won a couple of Grey Cups, 96 and 97, and the hopes and prayers of everyone, the Argonauts and us up here, everyone as well, for Norm Casola. The Argonauts getting set to kick off in this game. And it will be Arik Bigos brought in after 6 games. to help out with the kicking duties. And back is the top return specialist in the CFL, Eric Blunt. And this game is underway. And Blunt will look for it. It comes down at the 20-yard line. And it's actually Demetrius Stanley on the return. And he gets it up to about the 30, where Winnipeg will scrimmage, and we'll see what sort of momentum the Bombers can take with them from their big win over Saskatchewan last week. Sean Millington is the guy in that lineup in the backfield. Jeff Reinbold said, and of course Troy Kopp, the quarterback who did it all, even kind of looks like Matt Dunnigan you see in there with the number 16. And up front, Dave Van Conant, the center. Experienced offensive line, Todd Furtick in that right tackle, number 58 for Winnipeg. First and down, Troy Kopp from the Bomber 30-yard line to start this game off with a handoff. And it's Eric Blunt, and he gets some yardage up the middle, over 5 yards, about 6 on the play.
Well, the defense for the Toronto Argonauts looks a little bit like this. Up front, get Tyrone Rogers, or Maurice Miller. O'Shea anchors the middle linebacking core. Wilshire and Simmons are also the tweeners, the defensive backs that are playing in the linebacking core. Lester Smith anchors safety. They got the 3 Smiths back. Adrian's back playing corner. Donald, of course, on the other corner.
Great secondary that helped the Argos out the last couple of years. Those 3 Smiths on 2nd down and 5. They hand off again. And this one will be 2 and out. Didn't see a lot of that with Troy Kopp last week at Winnipeg Stadium, but the Bombers will be punting.
Well, it's quite the story, Troy Kopp. I mean, here's a guy who comes into the football game with a great attitude. He's aggressive. He's got a linebacker mentality. A lot of people are comparing him early to Matt Dunnigan. Of course, he's got a lot to prove before you can put him in that category. But well, it'll be interesting to watch him in this football game, because it's one thing to be inserted into a game. No one really knows what you can do. It's another when you can watch game film on a guy and you get the start. So we'll have to see how he reacts in this one.
Anthony Bookman, newcomer to the Argonauts, standing back inside his 30-yard line as Bob Cameron gets it away, and barely gets it away. End over end punt, it's short. Bookman coming in for it and bobbles it a bit and falls on it at about the 37-yard line, where the Argos will take over. And a 39-yard punt for Bob Cameron on that play. Offensively, Kerwin Bell leading the way. He's had a couple of good games against these Blue Bombers. Pinball Clements and Dwayne Demetrician, and Daryl Mitchell, what an awesome game he had last week. Leading receiver in both receptions and yardage in the Canadian Football League. Chad Folk, the center, and the import tackles Dwayne Morgan and Willie Williams up front as well for Toronto. Kerwin Bell in the shotgun, standing at his 31-yard line. The ball scrimmaged at the 37. Fakes the handoff to Clemens, and he completes it to Mitchell. Daryl Mitchell with a catch right off the bat, and a short gain, though. Good play by the Winnipeg defense there.
Well, the Winnipeg defense is anchored up front by Joe Fleming. Joe Fleming on the defensive line, already 10 sacks on the season coming into this one. In the linebacking core, they get Shante Peoples back. Of course, that will provide some more pressure on the quarterback. And in the secondary, Brad Elberg starts at safety. On the corners, it's Lawler Hamilton. Reggie Carthon is back in the game at the halfback position.
2nd and long for the Argos. Bell once again standing in the shotgun. Backfield clears. Throws over the middle for Mitchell. He's got it, and a first down Toronto inside the Winnipeg 50. And Mitchell picks up from where he left off last week, a gain of 22.
Daryl Mitchell is going to run this seam pattern. This is one of his bread and butter plays now. I think that the secondary, here's Mitchell right in here. He's going to come out of the backfield and head right down the seam. Now, when he hits this seam, you're going to get the safety, Brad Elberg, late coming over. He's down the other hash mark. Number 1, Brad Elberg's got to know where 87 is every time the ball is snapped. Daryl Mitchell, obviously the go-to guy for Toronto.
Boy, you said it in the opening of this show. No sophomore jinx for the Canadian Football League's Rookie of the Year last year. Daryl Mitchell has been outstanding. They fake the handoff, then they shuffle it to Clements. It's a bit behind him. Tyrone Rogers is there to get him all wrapped up, and so too is Glenn Scribner. The Argos lose on that play back at the Winnipeg 50.
Well, penetration is what is the key to stopping the shovel pass, no question about it. If your defensive lineman can get penetration, it can screw everything up for you. Good penetration by Glenn Scribner. Grant Carter's working his lineman. And Joe Fleming, of course, right on the spot.
Joe Fleming in on that tackle, and Pinball Clements, and it'll be 2nd and long again for the Argos. Bell working exclusively out of the shotgun, standing at midfield, taking it, once again faking the snap to Clements, tries the screen. Pinball has it. Has yardage and another Argo first down. They finally get him down at the Winnipeg 30. Once again on 2nd and long, another big gain for the Argos. That one is 20 yards.
Great block up front by Chad Folk, the center. He comes up on Maurice Kelly, number 24. You see 24 in the middle of your picture. He's the guy in charge. He's the guy in charge of covering Pinball. Clements on the screen out of the backfield. Chad Folk picks him up, and he can't make the tackle. That opens up some space for Pinball.
The nose of the ball up near the 30-yard line. Blue Bombers' first drive of the game for the Argos, and it's a good one. Already in scoring position. Shotgun again. This time, the handoff does go to Pinball Clements, and a short yardage that time for the Pinball. The Argos faced with but 2nd and 8.
Speaking of quarterbacks that have become good stories, I mean, Kerwin Bell quietly has become the #1 rated quarterback in the Canadian Football League. And, you know, we haven't talked a whole lot about Kerwin Bell, but he really is efficient. He's getting the job done. He's spreading the ball around to all his receivers.
And I remember the news conference where they unveiled Kerwin Bell, and a lot of the questions were, yeah, but what about Flutie? And I felt for him because, I mean, even I asked him that question, and he dealt with it all very gracefully, knowing that he's got some big footsteps to fill from the little general. He's been doing it admirably. That one he is hit as he gets rid of it. Don Robinson of the Bombers is the closest one to him as it falls incomplete.
Well, Shante Peoples, you knew it wouldn't be long before we talked about number 56 for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. He was in the backfield before Kerwin Bell could see downfield and make his reads, and it makes it easier for you to cover downfield when you get that good pass rush.
Shante Peoples, Eastern nominee for top defensive player in the CFL last year. Of course, first hooked up with Jeff Reinbold back with the Las Vegas Posse when they were around in 1994. Outstanding defensive player and a welcome addition after being let go in the National Football League. We got a field goal attempt coming up here. 35 yards away for Eric Bigos. Well within his range, what he's demonstrated so far. Gets it up easily long enough, but wide. Wide left for Bigos. And so a point goes on the board, but just one instead of 3. The Argos 1-0 over Winnipeg.
Jeff Reinbold overcome by emotion a week ago when his team recorded its first victory of the season. A big comeback win, 4 touchdowns in the 4th quarter, and finally got a W in the win column, and hopes that it can continue here this afternoon.
And his counterpart, Don Matthews, after 2 15-3 seasons in Grey Cups, this has been more of a challenge for the winningest coach in the history of the Canadian Football League, but still likes the way this team has progressed. It's 6-5 and a victory over BC last week here at Skydome. To go above the 500 mark again. Here's Troy Kopp again, passing and first down. He has a man. Demetrius Stanley, the man who caught the winning touchdown pass last week against Saskatchewan, catches one here up near the 50-yard line, a gain of 14 yards.
Well, nice throw by Troy Kopp to just drill it in there. Demetrius Stanley gets inside position as he works to the inside on Bonner. And a nice throw and catch.
First down for Winnipeg. This their 2nd drive of the game. Looking for some momentum to keep things going from how well they went last week in Winnipeg.
132, 111.
Kopp throws again to the side. It's complete, although very close coverage there. And it's number 89, Cotto Cotton, the ex-Saskatchewan Rough Rider, on that catch. Gain of about 5 yards.
Well, you have to throw that ball on time and with confidence. Up at the top is Cotto Cotton. He's going to run the hitch pattern. But that ball takes a while to get out there. It's about a 40-yard throw for a 5-yard gain with Donald Smith, the veteran corner, just baiting you to throw it. That one has to be on time and with some zip, and Kopp got it out there.
Cotton was another one that had a touchdown catch in that dramatic 4th quarter last week in Winnipeg. Kopp, couple of completions, looking for more here. Treads the needle, is looking for Milt Stiegel and looked to be knocked down by Adrian Smith. Incomplete, it'll be 3rd down.
Well, I just talked about baiting the throw, and Troy Kopp is a young quarterback. He's going to have to start to look off defensive backs. Adrian Smith is hiding over to the left of your screen, number 6, and he doesn't even look at the wide receiver. He reads the eyes of Troy Kopp and is gone before that ball is thrown.
Adrian Smith, another welcome addition, this time for the Argos. Back in that lineup, and Cameron, the snap is low on 3rd down, but gets a pretty nice punt away down to the Argo 10. Taking it there, Anthony Bookman. Not much room up the middle, and he is down after a short return and a 47-yard punt for Bob Cameron. A 1-point lead for the Argos in the first quarter.
If you're not in the stadium, you're really not in the Grey Cup.
Welcome back to Skydome. Rod Smith and Glenn Suter and Kerwin Bell's Argonauts with a 1-0 lead. Their previous drive was a good one. They got down to the 28-yard line, but a 35-yard attempt by Eric Bigos went wide to the left. But they are moving the football. As Glenn, as you pointed out, Kerwin Bell has really maybe turned a few heads this year with the impressive numbers that he's put up.
Well, I think he has. I think he does have big shoes to fill, no question about it. When you have Doug Flutie as your quarterback for a couple of Grey Cups, it's tough to come in as the next one. But he certainly has done a nice job handling the pressure.
Play action fake, in trouble. Joe Fleming almost gets him. It's complete. Beautiful catch. Daryl Mitchell again got that one off the shoe tops. It's a first down, Argos.
Well, first of all, unbelievable throw by Kerwin Bell to get it out of there, because he had pressure right on him immediately. Joe Fleming was bearing down. Kerwin Bell barely had his balance, threw off his back foot as he was falling to his back, and somehow got that one out of there. Watch the hit he's going to take. He's stumbling, falling down, and Joe Fleming all over him. Somehow gets that ball out of there, and Mitchell picks it off the turf and takes it up for the first down.
Joe Fleming is pretty serious when it comes to sacks. Nearly had one there. Tied for third in the CFL with 10 this year. Had a shotgun again on first down. Airs it out. He's got a man. Andrew English. Big first down, Argos, down to the Winnipeg 32.
Well,
45 yards.
This is what Kerwin Bell can do for you, because if you start paying too much attention to Daryl Mitchell, he can go to one of his other weapons. And Andrew English right down the seam. There's no jam by Don Robinson. When you play zone, you got to get your hands on the receivers. He hits the seam. Don Robinson, 29, doesn't do it. Gives English the clean release, and he goes down and picks up the football.
English started the year with the BC Lions, but he has been a nice addition for Don Matthews and the Argonauts. Heading into the game, his longest reception was 41 yards, so that is his new longest with 45, and a big first down again. The Argos threatening. Ball spotted at the 32. And started deep in their own end. Interesting wrinkle as they send 3 out to the left and hand off to Clemens. Big hole. Another big gain near first down yardage, close to the 22-yard line.
And Mike Clemens is disappointed. He thought he should have been all the way because he had one guy to beat. This is all offensive set. A tight end. You don't see many tight end sets in the CFL anymore, but Don Matthews throws a wrinkle in there, and Pinball was one tackle away from finding the end zone.
Among the 3 receivers moving out to the left was number 16 Byron Capers, a defensive back who has actually stayed in there. And you see him now. Actually, Capers heading off the field, a sub, but interesting look from the Argos. A look at Pinball Clements.
Well, it is tough when you put in different guys like that, defensive backs and tight ends, and you start to try and find numbers, because a lot of times in coverage on defense, you're looking for the number of the guy. With where's Pinball? Where's number 31? He's my man. When you see a different number like 16, a defensive back, it can throw you for a second.
It looked to throw Winnipeg there as there was a gaping hole and nearly first down yardage for the Argos. They load it up now. 4 in the backfield. And once again, 3 head off to the left. It is second and less than a yard. Handed off to Clements again, and he is greeted by Doug Hawking right around the first down marker. It'll be interesting to see how this one is spotted. And they do say it is a first down for the Argonauts. A big pop for Hawking. Have a listen.
Oh, yeah. There's going to be some hard hitting in this football game, no question about it.
Anyone who said it was easy.
Well, he just saw the play once before and was right in the hole the second time.
Unfortunately for Winnipeg, though, doesn't stop him soon enough. It's another first down near the 20-yard line, Bombers. 1-0 Argos and threatening again. Bell rolls to his left. Open is Mitchell again down at the 10. Turns around and gets the first down. It'll be first and goal, Toronto, although there is a flag in the field.
Well, as soon as Daryl Mitchell sees that he has a linebacker covering him in Grant Carter, he's going to make his read and break to the outside. You see 51 taking the inside position, but you know that Daryl Mitchell's going to get some separation on Grant Carter. Grant Carter, primarily
Toronto,
a pass rusher.
First down repeated.
Now, in fairness to Grant Carter, he's not matched up man-to-man on Daryl Mitchell and wouldn't be asked to do that. He's just asked to help on the inside, but Mitchell will have a lot of read routes. He'll just say to Kerwin Bell, listen, if he's inside, I'll break out. If he's outside, I break in. You just read me.
That first down, however, is nullified. Offside on the Argos, so good break for Winnipeg. Pushes the ball back to the 25. It'll be first and 15, Toronto. Bell once again standing in that shotgun. 4 go out to the left. Looks over the middle, and he finds Paul Mazzotti, who was hauled down by Hocking after a gain of about 5 yards. And Paul Mazzotti closing in on the Argos' all-time record for receiving yardage. It's held by Darrell K. Smith, but coming into this game, Mazzotti at 7,955, just 189 yards shy of history, being the top receiver in terms of yardage in the history of the Toronto Argonauts.
Last year, over 1,000 yards for Paul Mazzotti and 5 touchdowns. And it's been the consistent factor in that offense. Wide receiver position, very smart player.
Call it second and 10 for Kerwin Bell and the Argos. Sets up the screen, but pinball's not there. Falls incomplete, and it's a field goal try coming up.
Yeah, pinball got caught up in the mix and couldn't get open for Bell. Bell had to throw it on time, because when you set up the screen pass, your offensive linemen are taught to take a 2 count and then let the defensive lineman go. So Kerwin Bell has to deliver that football in a hurry, and pinball just couldn't get free.
Eric Bigos missed from 35 out a little earlier. This time, Mazzotti will put it down for him at the 27-yard line. And that one is up, and that one is good. Bigos 1 for 2 on the day. He's got all the points for the Argos. A 4-0 lead, 2:50 to go until the quarter.
CFL Live on TSN is brought to you in part by Midas Car Care, the way it should be.
A 27-yard field goal for Eric Bigos gives the Argos a 4-0 lead over Winnipeg, and Bigos standing in to get the kickoff going, and standing back Demetrius Stanley and the top return specialist in the CFL, number 21, Eric Blunt. One of a great year he's had, although Winnipeg's been receiving a lot of kickoffs this year. It's been that kind of season. Once again, this one will come down to Stanley at his 15. Cuts outside and gets taken down at the 39. Ball comes loose, and it is Winnipeg's football.
Well, one guy that the Winnipeg Blue Bombers hope will open up things a little bit is Milt Stegall, back from his NFL tryout. He had a bit of an injury, has a little bit of a knee injury, but apparently he's close to 100%, and the knee isn't bothering him. He's got great speed in the seam. Not only will he be the deep threat that he was last year in a hurry for Troy Kopp, but he'll also open up things for the underneath patterns. When you got a great speed guy, gets the defensive backs on their heels a little bit, you can open up the underneath patterns.
And there have been so many changes at receiving spots for Winnipeg this year. It's been a real problem. As his quarterback, Kopp completes it to Blunt. Makes a move, great move to pick up the Winnipeg first down across their 50-yard line to their 52.
And this is what I'm talking about right here. Milt Stegall took off deep on that play, and the secondary and linebackers for the Argos had to drop to about 10-15 yards and opened up the underneath zone for Blunt to just catch that one out of the backfield and make the first down on his own. That's what speed does for you.
Stegall, the leading receiver in the Canadian Football League last year. Another weapon for Troy Kopp. Got the Bombers on the move now across their 50. After that first down to Blunt. Stands back, gets out of it. Kopp on the run and gets across midfield. Picks up something. In fact, about 6 yards on the play for Winnipeg.
Last week when he went into the huddle, he took the reins of that offense, and the offensive lineman said they were so pumped up and just were running to the line of scrimmage. Troy Kopp brought an attitude to the huddle, and you have to have an attitude and borderline cocky, and Troy Kopp has that.
In fact, it was Chris Perez, one of the Bomber tackles, that at first thought he was thinking about telling him to calm down a little bit. Then he thought, wait a minute, maybe we've been too calm all season long. Yeah. This guy's got some fire. That one just goes incomplete. Intended for Demetrius Stanley, goes right through his hands. It'll be third down now and about 5 yards.
I think the ball was intended for DeBuck, and Demetrius Stanley broke off his pattern. He read a high zone and stopped in the hole. I don't think that ball was intended for him, but he deflects it, and Matt DeBuck can't pick up the deflection, and he takes the hit instead. It's a little shaken up. Probably got the stinger on that side.
To give you an idea how the receiving problems have been this year with Winnipeg, DeBuck, 37 in receiving in the CFL, the leading Bomber. Their #1 receiver and 37th overall. Buckman takes a pop on the punt return after a 45-yard kick. And the Argos with a 4-point lead going to work again against Jeff Reinbold's Winnipeg Blue Bombers. What a tough year, what a tough tenure it's been as head coach of the Bombers for Jeff Reinbold in his second season, and many would speculate his last, with a record of 1-10. But as he said to his players after that victory last week, if nothing else, you can be proud of one of the most dramatic moments in Winnipeg football history.
And there's two things you have to look at. One is he is not out of the playoff picture yet. We mentioned that at the start of the show. He could still get there because of the crossover format with a few wins, because BC and Saskatchewan are still struggling. The other thing is, remember, Ron Lancaster started as a head coach with Saskatchewan Roughriders with 2 wins, 2 seasons in a row, or back-to-back seasons. So, I mean, a rough start, yes, but he's a good football man. He knows his X's and O's, and if he isn't the head coach of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers next year, he'll be in football somewhere, no question.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he wears his heart on his sleeve, and you could certainly see that, the emotions coming off that victory last week. Keys for Winnipeg?
Yeah, I mean, I think for Winnipeg to win this game, they're going to have to take Daryl Mitchell out of it as much as possible. If that means triple covering him, do it. Shante Peoples has to have a good game off the edge. Of course, that's what they expect out of him. He had 13 sacks last year, and they need to get Stiegel the ball. He was the go-to guy all last year. He's got the great speed. We just talked about that. He has to see the football, and he has to see it deep and early.
As far as the Argos go, Don Matthews says, doesn't matter if you're taking on a team that's 1-10 or 10-1, you prepare for them the same way. But what do the Argos have to worry about with Winnipeg?
Well, they have to get pressure on Troy Kopp. Kopp is a young quarterback who's only played in about 18 minutes of pro football, so they're going to send a lot of different types of blitzes at him, some zone blitzes and some straight zero blitzes. They have to contain Eric Blunt, especially on special teams. Blunt, of course, broke the big punt return last week versus Saskatchewan that set up the victory. And I think the Toronto Argonauts have to establish a running game. They're known as a passing team. They spread things out, but they need to keep some balance in that offense.
Fewest attempts rushing in the CFL. Like down near the bottom, just about every rushing stat in the league. Bell to pass again, wide open impression, but they say no good. Trapped it. It just came down in front of him.
Well, this play is set up because you've run the hitch passes a few times. Because
Tuesday and Wednesday, so there'd be no problem with him missing the later part of the week, and he looks okay so far. 4 points on the board. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you, David. Our condolences to Kerwin Bell and his family. And yes, as an experienced quarterback, I'm sure missing those prep days isn't nearly as problematic as it would be for a rookie QB. The punt by Noel Prefontaine, and it's a good one, heading towards the sideline. Eric Blunt lets it bounce, and it's an Argo bounce that takes him back to the 35, but Blunt takes it. Look at the moves by Blunt. Gets up across the 50 to the 52, and he makes something out of that after it looked like field position would be about the 35-yard line.
Well, you always want to catch the ball in the air, but sometimes when it does bounce around, it'll fragment the coverage team a little bit, and that's when Blunt can find a seam.
Troy Kopp, not only a football player, baseball player too, twice drafted by the Montreal Expos. Hey, that's something else he has in common with Matt Dunnigan. Remember Dunnigan had a little baseball tryout with the Expos? Just the comparisons are endless.
Well, he has the same number, and he sort of walks the same way and throws the same way, so Winnipeg fans hoping he plays the same way.
On first down, rolling to his right, over the middle, and beautiful play by Lester Smith to break that one up.
Well, Lester Smith is the leader that anchors that secondary, and Stiegel's just going to go down the seam and try and stop when he sees the coverage high from Lester Smith. But watch the great closing speed. Lester Smith about 6 yards away and just closes that distance in a hurry, hits Stiegel right in the back, and won't allow that one to be caught. Makes all the checks from the safety position, leads the team in interceptions. Definitely the anchor in that secondary.
4 interceptions so far this season for Lester Smith. A second down. Bombers nearly picked off that time. Good coverage once again down at the Argo 40. Not much chance for the Bomber receiver there. It was Demetrius Stanley on the play.
Yeah, well, it was good coverage, but there was a problem with the pass patterns. Demetrius Stanley was right beside, I believe it was Mitch Running on the play. They were both right beside each other, and you generally don't have that with patterns. You definitely have more separation between two receivers, or one defensive back can cover both. And that's what Adrian Smith did.
Cobb talking things over with quarterbacks coach Tom Porras, who had a pretty good long CFL career with a number of teams, including the Argos and the Bombers, and of course the Hamilton Tiger Cats. So Bob Cameron to punt from his 40. Pretty good kick. Anthony Bookman, the only one back, takes it inside his 20, and not much doing, gets it across to maybe the 22-yard line after a 42-yard punt by Cameron. 13-18 to go until the half. Still 4-0 Argos.
You know, the panel talked about Kerwin Bell and how tough he is in the pocket. I think one of his great attributes is the fact that he's tall and has tremendous vision downfield. He can see over that offensive line. That gives him a great advantage, standing at 6'3" and weighing 210.
7 for 11 so far. He had the one that really bothered him the last play of the quarter, looking for Darryl Mitchell, and it was overthrown. But still having a pretty good afternoon as he sends, once again, 3 out to the left, including Byron Capers. They hand off to Clemens. 2 flags down, a first down Toronto. Clemens found a hole and some room up to the Argo 35.
Well, it was a big hole, and maybe it was because someone up front was kind of cheating.
I wouldn't think holding.
No, I could. It's in that area. That's where the flag was, right in the holding area.
You defensive players always suspect something if the hole is too big, right?
That's right.
Holding.
Yeah.
Toronto number 58. First down repeated.
Kristiaskis got called on the holding.
And Mr. Suter guesses correctly, or suspects correctly.
Well, you know, I mean, that's a good offensive line that'll open up a couple of creases for pinball, but that was a pretty big hole.
It goes back to the Argo 12-yard line. A first down and 20. Well, the Argos started deep in their own zone once before at their own 13, and they drove all the way down for a field goal. Flags down again on the snap of the ball, and Bell under pressure gets away once and then just throws it away. And another flag down late as Bell is taken down.
Well, he is upset. He thinks he was hit late and wants the roughing the passer call.
But it looks to be going against the Argos.
Well, there's a couple of flags on the field.
Would grounding have been called the way he threw that away?
Well, there's no question he dumped that away, and whether or not it passed the line of scrimmage, because there wasn't a receiver in the area. Paul Mazzotti was trying to argue his case, saying that he was coming back to it, but the ball passes the line of scrimmage. It's not grounding.
Intentional grounding. Toronto number 12. Second down.
Well, it obviously didn't cross the line of scrimmage, and it was called on the grounding. The new rule in the CFL, if the quarterback throws the ball across the line of scrimmage, there doesn't have to be a receiver in the area, but there's no question that Bell's just trying to get rid of that one, and he doesn't have enough on it to get it over the line, and that's the penalty.
However, they did not clarify the first penalty. There was a flag down even before Bell got it away. I guess it's inconsequential because the grounding is the one that stands, and they're back to the 1-yard line.
Yeah, and I really didn't see a late hit on Kerwin Bell or any unintentional roughness or intentional roughness, excuse me. So I don't know what Bell was arguing.
An offside actually was signaled as the other penalty. So the Argos starting very, very deep. They have to get it out to the 32-yard line for a first down. They're at their 1. They hand off to Clemens to give a little breathing room, and he takes a shot about the 7-yard line. Things getting a little bit heated now between these two teams, and
yeah. Well, some of the fans were booing there on the call because, you know, you're down that far. You're thinking that the quarterback's going to drop back and throw the ball. But it's a good call by Don Matthews because really you just want to get a little breathing room for your punter. There's not a whole lot of plays in the playbook for 3rd and, what 30?
So it was actually about 32 yards. They're at the 1. They had to get to the 33.
Yeah, so that limits the playbook a little bit. What you want to do is get the ball off the goal line, get about 5 yards, 6 yards of breathing room so your punter can come in, get rid of that football, and let's reload the next time out.
And kudos so far to that Bomber defense. It's been holding its own, including a couple of times when the Argos had moved well into their own territory. Noel Prefontaine standing about 10 yards back.
Now, does he give up the safety?
No, he doesn't. He does choose to kick it away. A driving punt that bounces in front of Eric Blunt. He takes it on the run, moving to his left and wrapped up nicely. Good tackle by Mike O'Shea to take him down at the Argo 45 in Winnipeg and Troy Kopp. They'll be in business when we come back. Be sure you're watching TSN later today, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 p.m. Pacific Time. Toronto Blue Jays in Tampa Bay, Tropicana Field. The Jays, well, they're 5 out in the wild card race behind Boston with only 8 games to go. It's not looking good, but they're still alive, and that's more than a lot of people thought about a month and a half ago.
5 games out, 8 games to go. There's a chance. So you're saying there's a chance?
Well, Red Sox need to pull off one of their famous collapses, and I don't think that's going to happen now. But they lost last night, and so did the Blue Jays, though, missing a chance to close to within 4 again. Troy Kopp's got some good field position to work with here from the Argo 44. Oh! My goodness. Adrian Smith, I think he could see the daylight. If he could just get his hands on that football, he would have been gone.
Well, we talked about Troy Kopp. He's going to have to start looking off some of these receivers. He's got to look the other way when he throws this. All the way, he's looking to his left. Adrian Smith reads that and is right up there in front of Travis Anderson, ready to take that one the other way. Troy Kopp's got to do a couple things. He's got to look off the DBs and Adrian Smith, and he also has to pump a couple of those and go up over top so they'll respect the fact that he may throw the ball deep.
I seem to recall an interception, something like that, in Hamilton 2 years ago in the Grey Cup against the Edmonton Eskimos that went for a touchdown Toronto. Oh, that one goes incomplete. Troy Kopp throwing another one, and that was intended for Demetrius Stanley down at the 35. It would have been close to a first down.
Well, Troy Kopp is disappointed because he read the play perfectly. He knew that the Argos were coming with everybody. Full out blitz. He read it right. He went to the right man. He just didn't hook up. He threw it a little too far ahead. And that's why he's showing so much disappointment, because it was the right read, the right guy to throw to. He just didn't execute it.
Last week was the first time he'd played since 1996 in arena football. He had a tryout with the San Diego Chargers earlier this year, but was let go just in August. Then he hooked up with Winnipeg. Troy Westwood from just over 50 yards out pushes it to the right. He had the distance. And Bookman brings it out across his 10. Bookman near the 17-yard line, and it's Grant Carter that finally knocks him down. So once again, field position will be okay for Winnipeg, but no points to show for it yet. Down 4-0, 10:31 to go until the half. In the first quarter, numbers that would suggest a low-scoring ball game.
Well, some pretty good passing yards from the Argos right there, but a couple of those on a big play. One to Andrew English, and the Winnipeg defense bent a little bit, but didn't break, of course. It's only 4 points on the board for the Argos, and they're going to want a little more production out of their running game. They need some balance there. And Sean Millington and Eric Blunt will split the duties from the tailback position with Deland McCullough off the roster.
Roster juggling by Jeff Reinbold. Import, non-import ratio. Well, nowhere. Maurice Kelly buries Pinball Clements, and that Bomber D continues to be stalwart.
This is a great open field tackle because it's Mike Pinball Clements, and Clements in the open field is the toughest in the business to tackle. Maurice Kelly just runs right over him. There's space there, and watch Kelly. Great form on that tackle, drives right through Pinball Clements, head up, wraps him up great. And this is an impact football player for the Bombers. The great open field tackle right there.
linebacker slash defensive back, one of those tweeners, does it so well, fast and strong. Early movement at the line, but no flags. And the pass is completed. Andrew English has another big gain for the Argos, up at the 35, a first down Toronto. 17-yard gain.
Well, it was what Andrew English did with the football after he caught it, because really he's the checkoff man for Kerwin Bell. Kerwin wanted to go to the play side, which was to his left. He had to check off and just dump it in the flat, but Andrew English did a nice job of cutting back on Don Robinson, heading up the field. It's called yak yards, the yards after the catch, and that was all Andrew English.
First down, Toronto. Offense has been moving the football, but not getting much to show for it, really. 4 points. They dump it off to Clements, and they're onto him. Fumble. Loose ball. Who's got it? And it looks like the Argos may have gotten it back. Wayne Demetrician with it now. But once again, they were wise to Clements and actually calling that an incomplete pass.
Well, it's definitely a forward pass, even though it comes out of the shovel series. Little play action first to Clements, and then Kerwin Bell moves to his right. No question, a forward pass, and well, that's definitely a catch.
Definitely a catch, sure. And they do mark it off, a 3-yard gain for 2nd and 7 for Toronto.
Remember, you just need to be the last player to touch it as that ball goes out of bounds. Wayne Demetrician recovered the fumble.
As Don Matthews looks on, the shotgun snap goes just as Kerwin Bell is calling for time. Flags down, and they do give him the timeout.
Well, Kerwin Bell went to
Toronto.
Call the timeout. Didn't like what he saw in the coverage from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and as he was doing that, he saw the football hit him in the hand. He was looking for the official on the play.
Well, I said they gave him the timeout, but they gave him the timeout after they gave him the penalty, which is not exactly what he had in store.
Well, this is one that Kerwin Bell is going to look at the film and probably have a good chuckle about tomorrow, because he goes to call timeout, and just that motion alone was enough to have Chad Folk snap the ball to him and hit him right in the armpit.
For his season, maybe the most impressive stats, 15 touchdowns in 98 and only 6 picked off.
Don't make fast movements around offensive linemen. They get kind of jumpy.
Sure. His hands move.
Yeah.
Snap it. On 2nd down, it's complete to Mitchell. Looking for the first down marker, doesn't get it. Good work by Don Robinson to slow him down, and they get him down shy of the 45. He needed to get just beyond that for the first down.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what Don Matthews does in this situation. And I think he may go for it. Just about a yard away from that first down marker. You're in your end of the field, but not by much. It's almost as good as saying you're in midfield, and you got to have confidence in your offensive line that they can pick up 1 yard on a gamble. Of course, we've seen a few games where it hasn't happened, but
I saw 3 light guys walk off the field and 3 heavy guys come in. I think that's a telltale sign.
Yeah.
They got some beef up front now on 3rd and inches. On the handoff, and pinball Clements has no problem. Slicing his way across, gets it to the 47 and a first down Toronto. The sticks move.
Yeah, when you put together your offensive game plan, you have to have confidence that your offense can go and get 1 yard. The only way that it's not going to happen is if you have a penalty, an illegal procedure call, or something happens with the football, i.e. a fumble from the center to the quarterback, or he turns around and fumbles it, getting it to the tailback. But really, you have to be able to go out and get that as an offense.
The one thing that's worked against Winnipeg so much this season has been the length of time that the defense has been on the field. And so far in this game, it's becoming a problem. Even with Troy Kopp at quarterback, Winnipeg has not had the sustained drives that Kerwin Bell has under pressure. Oh, he's buried, and that one just falls incomplete near midfield. But that Winnipeg defense, long as it's been on the field, is still putting lots of pressure on Bell and having a great game.
Brad Elberg came from the safety position. They love to do this. They'll put everybody up there. You see Maurice Kelly. Now, Maurice Kelly's up to your right of your screen, but he's going to drop into coverage. This way, Kerwin Bell isn't sure which of the 2 defensive backs is coming, Maurice Kelly or Brad Elberg. In that case, it was Brad Elberg, and he gets home. No one picks him up.
His best moment in football, I'm sure he'd agree, came at this stadium, 1992. as a running back, and a great one with Queens University. The MVP of that game. He was dominant, 3 touchdowns. Queens beat St. Mary's that day, but Elberg, to stay playing pro football, made the conversion and picks off a pass. Brad Elberg at the 50, a big break, and that Bomber D is strong again. Elberg with the interception. Winnipeg takes over.
The ball was intended for Daryl Mitchell down the seam, but it looked like there was some sort of miscommunication between Kerwin Bell and Mitchell. I think Kerwin Bell thought that Mitchell would stay straight up the seam, and Daryl Mitchell bent it more to the hash mark, and that's why it was overthrown, and Brad Elberg picks up the interception.
Elberg with the pick. And he likes playing defense. Winnipeg down by 4 with the ball.
You're not in the stadium. You're really not in the Grey Cup.
Kerwin Bell talking upstairs after throwing an interception in this game to Brad Elberg.
Well, this is where Mitchell comes into the middle a little bit too much, doesn't head straight up the seam. He's got double coverage on him, Brad Elberg over top, and Reggie Carthon underneath. And Kerwin Bell got a little bit locked into his favorite target. You see Carthon had the great underneath coverage. Brad Elberg was high and over top, helping with the deep stuff, and
that's better.
He comes up with a big play.
A big play that has him up at the 53-yard line. Troy Kopp, play action fake. He'll take off with it and get very little, if anything at all, out of bounds just across the 54. A gain of 1 yard, 2nd and 9. Kopp takes off, seeing no other option on that play.
Well, he'll learn to become a little more patient. I think Troy Kopp had Mitch running open in the flat for about a 5 or 6 yard gain, and who knows, maybe he breaks a tackle, but he decided he wanted a little bit more, and then when he got out there, got impatient, just took off running with it. But you have to learn patience sometimes when you're a rookie quarterback, pretty excited about playing.
2nd and long, Winnipeg. Right in this ball game, down by 4, the ball near midfield. Over the middle, complete, big first down. Mitch running with the catch, his first of the day, and it's down to the Argo 35.
Boy, they are high on Mitch running as a receiver future for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. A lot of people are saying that they remind him a little bit of Mike Trevathan. He's a tough receiver, runs down the seam well. He'll take a hit and hang on to the football. Spent a couple of years in the NFL with the Oilers and the Carolina Panthers. Last year was a late cut to the Panthers, and Winnipeg real happy to have him. He catches a tough one over the middle.
A gain of 21 yards for Winnipeg, and they're in business. Hand off to Eric Blunt, and nothing doing. Stuffed up nicely for no gain. Todrick McIntosh in there, and so too is Jermaine Haley.
Pretty decent front four for the Argos. Todrick McIntosh, Demetrius Maxey, Jermaine Haley, Maurice Miller, they all do a pretty nice job getting consistent pressure, and probably one of the best defenses in the league against the run. And then when you anchor it with Michael O'Shea behind you, it's pretty tough to run against.
Last week, Maxey and McIntosh teamed up to drill Damon Allen. The BC quarterback went down with a concussion, knocked out of that game. They reviewed the tape later, decided that it was okay. It wasn't dirty, but that is a tough lot up front for the Blue. Eric Johnson gets in on the blitz and takes Kopp down at the Argo 50. A loss of 15 yards.
The Argos have gone with 2 defensive backs in the linebacking core, primarily with Kelly Wiltshire and with Marcelo Sims, but in this play, they're going to go with Eric Johnson, who's not blocked. Eric Blunt went the wrong way. He went to his left to pick up anyone coming from that side. The pressure came from the opposite side. Eric Johnson gets home. You got to block him. You got to get a body on him.
On 3rd down, Cameron has to punt from his own territory. Good driving kick to the side, and Bookman has no choice but to catch it out of bounds. Nice kick by Cameron, hems the Argos down to their 7-yard line. A 41-yard punt.
Wow.
And the location was as important or more important than the distance itself.
Oh, that was the key. I mean, what a great punt. He just gets better with time. And there's been quite a bit of time.
There's been a whole lot of time.
Like fine wine.
Daryl Mitchell, 4 touchdown catches last week, the leading receiver in the Canadian Football League, and 4 catches today.
Well, Kerwin Bell can't get too locked into Daryl Mitchell, though. He knows that he's going to see some special coverage, some double coverage down the field. And the last time these two teams played, actually, it was Nigel Williams who had a big game because the Bombers went after Mitchell a little bit. So Bell's going to have to keep spreading it out.
Once again, the Argos start deep in their own territory. Bell had lots of time, but great D again. Nick Ferguson knocks that one away. Intended for Andrew English. This Bomber defense continues to be all over the Argos in this quarter.
Well, they're really doing a nice job of coverage downfield, and they're fleshing Bell out of the pocket. But you can see Nick Ferguson all over Andrew English. A little bit of a grab, but you can get away with that. With his little push, there's a little pull. That's no problem.
Spoken like a true DB.
Oh, yeah, that's no problem. Nick Ferguson has played almost every position for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. He started the season out at the corner. He's played the halfback and the dime position, the extra defensive back. It's nice to have that kind of versatility in an athlete.
So it's 2nd and 10. The Argos from their 7-yard line. Got a shotgun. Obvious passing down, and Bell does dump it off to Mitchell. He's got it with some speed as the first down and more. Daryl Mitchell up at the Argo 35, and a flag goes down to boot. And some tension between the Bombers and the Argos right at the Toronto sideline.
It's the toughest pattern to cover, even if you're a tremendously gifted athlete with speed, and Maurice Kelly is. He's got great speed, but Daryl Mitchell outruns him. He ran all the way across the field, and of course, Maurice Kelly has to try and weave his way through all the picks coming the other way, and then Brad Elberg at the end of that play gets the late hit. Boy, he can fly across the middle.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness, Winnipeg number 1, first down.
And Elberg is steamed about the call.
Well, he's steamed because he thought there should have been a retaliation after the fact. I mean, no question that Brad Elberg hit Daryl Mitchell once he was out of bounds. He's taking a step, he gets hit. Now later on in that little melee, he gets hit from Adrian Smith a couple of times. Don Matthews saying, let's not get a flag on us as well. So that's what Brad Elberg was upset about. Yes, I got a penalty, but there was some punches thrown
Major
the other
foul,
way as well.
Objectionable conduct, Winnipeg number 1.
Oh, boy.
And this just continues to mount as Elberg is penalized again. Well, what started, sorry, Glenn, is a 29-yard gain will end up being a 59-yard gain when you add it all up.
Oh, boy, and the second one is the one that really hurts. And that's the one that Jeff Reinbold just will not stand for. I mean, that's not for something you do, that's for something you say to the official, and that's, you got to control your temper.
And just moments earlier, Elberg had the big interception, but things really turning around for him, and this entire Winnipeg team, play action fake. And Bell down the sidelines, incomplete, inside the 20-yard line.
Well, Kerwin Bell has to take advantage of this situation now. I mean, there's no question after 59 yards of penalties, you move down the field, you get the great field position. You got to take advantage of it and really get the momentum on your side.
While they look things over, it'll be a 2nd down Toronto when we come back. Don't miss CFL Live at the half with Duffy, Tillman, and Schultz and all their expert analysis of this game and around the Canadian Football League. 2:49 to go until halftime. And look at the Eskies and the Lions tonight, and the Owls and the Cats tomorrow. Jeff Reinbold has reason to be pleased in a way, but also reason to be displeased. The turn of events recently in this drive, 2 penalties to Brad Elberg, really got the Argos out of a jam and into some great field position here inside the Winnipeg 50-yard line. Out of the shotgun on 2nd and 10, Kerwin Bell over to the side, complete to English. Well shy of the first down, however, and they swarm him and get him down inside the 45, and it'll be 3rd down. And field goal territory again for Eric Bigos.
This is a victory for the Winnipeg defense. When you give up penalties like that, you're down a little bit emotionally. Brad Elberg had the back-to-back penalties. The Argos took all that yardage up and didn't capitalize. Even if Bigos hits this field goal, 3 points is a victory for this defense.
And this is by no means a chip shot for Bigos. The ball will come down. It'll be placed at the 51-yard line. Bigos is 13 for 17 since joining the Argos, but his longest is from 47 yards. If he makes it, this is his longest kick in the pros.
With one of the hottest return guys back there in the end zone waiting for it, and Eric Blunt.
Paul Masadi to put it down. Bigos has the distance, and it's good. His longest kick has extended the Argo lead to a converted touchdown, a 51-yard field goal. And Toronto does have some points to show for that one in the turn of events with the double penalty, a 7-0 Argonaut lead.
Big kick. There's a guy that signed in August and didn't make his first miss was on Labor Day.
That's a pretty good
Hamilton.
run.
Yeah, it's a nice run.
Bigos is one of the top kickers, maybe the top kicker in the Canadian University ball last year, and was known to hit them from more than 50 yards with the Waterloo Warriors.
Gotta do something with that face mask, though.
I like it. It's classic. It's the classic look.
Oh, well, you know, it's unique. I'll give it that.
Why didn't you wear one like that when you played?
I wouldn't have a nose right now.
The Bombers take over the 35, down by 7 now. Cobb airing it out. Stiegel all tied up with Byron Capers, and it falls incomplete. Capers was all over him.
Well, Byron Capers is a speed demon. I mean, he's one of the DBs that has tremendous speed in the open field, and they're battling for this football all the way down there. And timing is everything. Milt Stiegel, first game in the lineup. Of course, Troy Kopp's only played 18 minutes last week and quarter and a half here, so it'll take a while for them to hook up, especially on the deep ball.
A low-scoring half. 7-0 Toronto. 2 field goals and a single. No majors yet. Kopp under pressure down. He tripped a bit, and Mike O'Shea made sure he'd have the rest of the ride to the turf.
Well, you want to send pressure on Troy Kopp so he can't look down the field. Here is Michael O'Shea coming on the blitz. Now, he's been up there and shown it and faked it. You see how he turned his head to look like he was going to drop? And then he comes on the blitz. When Troy Kopp saw him turn his head, he assumed he wasn't coming and started looking at coverage. When he looked up, 50 was bearing down.
And in a hurry. Big defensive play for the Argos, and Bob Cameron back at his 10 to get this away. Lester Smith, some good pressure there, nearly blocks it. Anthony Bookman with it. And he is down at the 42 after a 43-yard punt by Cameron. And this time the Argos will get to start their drive in much better shape than the previous 2.
Well, you talked about the time that this defense for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers has been on the field, and that starts to wear down on you a little bit. Nice stop on the last series to hold the Argos to a field goal after a couple penalties, but you know that Kerwin Bell, it's a matter of time before he hooks up with a big play to either Mike Clemens or Daryl Mitchell.
First down Argos. 1:39 on the scoreboard clock until halftime. They're up by 7. And they'll look for more. The pass is complete. First down yardage for Nigel Williams. Up near midfield for Toronto.
Nigel Williams is known for his speed, but when he sees the zone, you see Nick Ferguson was in the hook pattern, or the hook zone right around the hash mark, and Don Robinson out near the flat, and Nigel Williams saw that, so he just settled down his route right in between the two of them. He's a big target for Kerwin Bell.
Williams picked up in week 3 from the Montreal Alouettes. They made a deal for him. Don Matthews had said he'd wanted him for some time. A valuable Canadian receiver. You just saw played his junior football with the Hamilton Hurricanes and really didn't fit into the Alouette scheme of things. He's been a great receiver for Toronto. 33 catches, nearly 700 yards heading into this game. 3rd on the Argos. And a couple of touchdowns. And a catch there that makes it 2nd and inches as they load things up again to sneak this one over and keep this drive going up at their close to the 53-yard line. They fake the handoff. They'll throw on 2nd and short. And it's knocked down. Another good defensive play. This one is Reggie Carthon on Daryl Mitchell.
Just prior to the snap, Maurice Kelly turned around and talked to the secondary and said to everybody, watch the pass. This is a waist down. He alerts everyone with the little play action from Kerwin Bell, and then Reggie Carthon is not fooled. But I think it was the alert from Maurice Kelly when he turned around and said, hey, guys, this could be a waist down. 2nd and inches, watch the pass. Reggie Carthon said, you got it. It was right in coverage.
Not a waist down this time. They look to get those inches and keep things going, and it looks like Kerwin Bell has got it for another Argo first down. A little closer to midfield now, and 1:21 to go on the clock.
Well, that call by the Argos and Kerwin Bell to throw it, even though they didn't complete it, that'll be in the back of the minds of the Winnipeg defenders, because on the next gamble, they'll have to stay wide and respect the pass.
Argos up by 7. Obviously love to be up by a little bit more. They'll have the chance to do it. Close to midfield. The pass complete to English. Turns around to get it. He's got at least 5 yards. And across the Winnipeg 50 into about the 49-yard line.
Well, that's really where the Winnipeg defense wants the Argos to throw the football, short and to the wide field. It's the last read for Kerwin Bell. That's the design of the defense, to make him throw it out there and then come up and make the tackle. But Andrew English has picked up some good yardage on the play.
2nd and short yardage. 3 yards for the Argos, who stack them all up and behind, and this time Williams and Mitchell and Byron Capers go to the right, and Pinball Clements takes the handoff looking for that marker and comes up shy. He'll be about a yard short of the first down.
Well, this is a team meeting by the Winnipeg defense on Mike Pinball Clements, and when you got a guy like Clements who can make you miss in the open field, in fact, he can make you miss in a phone booth, you got to gang tackle him. And look at all the white jerseys over number 31.
And while the Bomber offense, sorry Glenn, while that Bomber offense has not shown that spark it had last week in the 4th quarter, the defense certainly has for the most part.
Yeah, they're doing their job. They've played pretty well all season, no question about it.
Short yardage again, and I don't know if he got it. Clements went up and went down right away. There was a meeting at the line of scrimmage.
Well, if he got it, he got an Argo spot. He got a home team spot, because it didn't look to me like he even made it across the line at all.
And the Bomber offense is already coming out on the field. I don't think there's any question about it.
No,
he went up, but he did not get anything across that line.
No, he went straight up and was met in midair.
It bears repeating. This Winnipeg defense has certainly done its job collectively in this first half in Toronto. I'd be shocked if this one was a first down.
But it always depends on where the official puts that foot down and marks the football, no question about it. And Pinball would get his forward progress, but I didn't think there was much forward progress on that play, not from this angle. That's the risk you run as a running back when you leave your feet. When you dive over the pile, you leave your feet, you have no more power. It's all gone. You're not touching the ground anymore, and if you get hit in midair, it's over.
Not even close, about a yard shy. Some encouragement from the passionate Jeff Reinbold.
Well, watch the timing of the Winnipeg defense to meet Pinball right in midair. Doug Hawking and Kalin, the backup safety, John Kalin, that come from the secondary. And remember, Brad Elberg sitting on the bench after 2 penalties. John Kalin comes in as the backup and makes a huge play on the stop.
So Winnipeg takes over on downs, not far from midfield, up at their 47 with 56 seconds to go, but just at the snap of the football, flags on the play.
Well, that's not how you want to start the drive when you just stole some momentum with a big 3rd down gamble stop. And like Chris Perez was a whole snap count ahead of the play.
And so 5 yards further back on the procedure call, and it goes to 1st
Legal
and 15.
procedure, Winnipeg, number 59. First down repeated.
Well, they called it on Craig Hendrickson, but looked to me like Chris Perez was also about 2 yards downfield before the snap of the ball. Maybe Craig, maybe his buddy drew him.
Have to talk about him. Talk to him about that later on, maybe in the locker room. The handoff. Good room up the middle. And up near the 50-yard line for Eric Blunt.
Well, if you're going to run a draw play, you're going to try and surprise the defense completely. You're hoping that they're just assuming you're throwing it down the field with time running out in the first half and you wanting to get into field goal range at the very least, and didn't surprise the Argo defense.
So it'll still be second and long. The longest field goal in the season for Troy Westwood is 54 yards. He's got a good range. Longest in the CFL this year. Over the middle. Intercepted. Antonius Bonner. And no need now to worry about the Bombers setting up a field goal. Their defense is back on the field. The Argos get it back to midfield.
Troy Kopp will learn from experience to look off the safety. He read the coverage, saw it was covered 3 deep with Antonius Bonner, the deep middle defender. But look how he's locked into that seam. He's looking to the right the whole way. Antonius Bonner reads the eyes and breaks on over there. Watch, look at how he's looking. He's looking all the way to that receiver. Experienced defensive back will take off and go there, and you're going to throw a lot of interceptions unless you started looking the opposite way that you're going to throw.
It's been a game of short momentum changes, and neither team's been able to hold on to that momentum for very long. Here's Bell over the middle, knocked down by his own man. Dwayne Demetrician had it in his hands, and it went right down to the turf. So it'll be second and 10.
So did Kerwin Bell. He went down to the turf hard and was slow to get up. Remember, he broke his arm in the preseason, and where's the special pad on that arm? He's kind of shaking that passing hand.
He's taken some punishment today, some hits after the fact. Jay Barker started the season, as you recall, because Kerwin Bell had the broken hand, broken arm.
Did a real nice job, too.
Did a great job. Showed a lot of poise. Bell is clearly, of course, number 1. Andrew English with a nice catch, although far short of a first down. And still not in field goal position either with 14 seconds to go on the clock. It'll be third down, Argos.
Well, Andrew English has been the checkoff receiver through this whole game, but because of the great play by the Winnipeg defense, that's who Kerwin Bell has had to throw the football to. They're taking away the deep patterns from Mitchell and Nigel Williams, and they're forcing Kerwin Bell to dump it off underneath, and it happens to be Andrew English, who's having a career day.
Great numbers for him. One of those catches was for 45 yards in the first quarter. His longest gain this season. The season that began with the BC Lions. And so Toronto will be punting. Noel Prefontaine back at his 41 to get this one away and perhaps end the half with 5 ticks left to go on the clock. Just run this out, and they have. Demetrius Stanley takes it, gets up to his 10-yard line, and that'll do it. 30 minutes in the books here at Skydome in Toronto. And defense rules. It's the Argos 7, the Bombers nothing. Back to our CFL Live Control Studios now at the half.
You're watching CFL Live on TSN. And we're at the half, brought to you by Health Watch, only at Shoppers Drug Mart. Now here's your host, James Duffy.
Yes, Duthie, Tillman, and Schultz back here at CFL Control. And I tell you what, Jim Daly and the Saskatchewan Roughriders must be home saying, that's not the same cop that busted us last week. Tell you what, he leads the team to 4 touchdowns down the stretch to beat Saskatchewan. Today, absolutely nothing. Let's take you to Copland now and show you the video evidence. It's not pretty. Looking right at the receiver, and bad cop on that one, and we're going to see another bad cop. He's lucky to not have 3 or 4 interceptions in the first half. Call internal affairs. We do have a bad cop on our hands. Finally, they would pick one. Antonius Bonner grabs it. Just not a good half of football by Troy Kopp, Eric.
No, James, you know, it's obvious he's really struggling. And as Glenn said, he's telegraphing his throws. He's not looking off the defensive backs. just staring at that primary receiver, and he's having trouble picking up the blitz too. You know, I think Winnipeg's inexperience, or glaring inexperience at quarterback, continues to show, and I think that in the second half, maybe you're going to see another rookie quarterback, T.J. Rubley.
Well, you know, I'm not really surprised because we discussed this point last night in the sense that your reserve quarterback, a quarterback coming back in the fourth quarter to win a game, that's a lot easier than being your starting quarterback and trying to really have a game plan and really execute that game plan. And to me, it's kind of simple. You know, when you have second and long with the Toronto Argonauts, you know they're going to bring more people than you have to block. And really, Troy Kopp does not know what to do. He doesn't know the fact you can audible to an inside receiver, you can slow down your cadence so the offensive linemen have a chance to pick it up, or you can take advantage of the rule in the Canadian Football League where you can throw to an open area and you don't lose any yardage. So, you know, he's struggling right now, James.
Yeah, this Kopp may be off duty before very long, but the one thing that is helping him out is the other side of the ball. The Winnipeg defense playing very well, and that is why they're only down by a touchdown. Brad Elberg with the pick, and the Bombers are still in it. We'll be back. All right, one more game in the CFL today. Edmonton and BC. CBC's got that one for you tonight. The 3-8 Lions against the 6-5 Eskimos, and two teams that have been struggling a little bit, although Edmonton looked pretty good for 3 quarters last week, and BC has looked good for the last 2 weeks, although they still haven't been able to come up with a win.
Yeah, well, it should be an interesting game. And I think this game is a real opportunity for British Columbia and a real challenge for Edmonton. Last week, I thought BC played very well. Obviously, they're responding under Greg Mons. They played the Argos toe-to-toe. It was a game they could have won, maybe should have won. And they had to, even though they were disappointed with the final score, I think they had to leave the stadium last week feeling like they were an improved football team. On the flip side of that, Edmonton, 2 very tough games back-to-back at Calgary, and just a devastating loss, giving up 24 points in the fourth quarter to the Calgary Stampeders. This is a critical game for both football teams. If BC wins, they're back in the Western Division race and could come in second place. If Edmonton wins, they're virtually assured of second place. So Edmonton's got to bounce back and play well, James.
And we might just bring in our sleeping bags and stay here for the night, because we're back tomorrow with the key game of the weekend. The Alouettes and the Tiger Cats, the 2 top teams in the East, battling it out. The Owls need a win to pull even with the Ticats for top spot in the East. Chris, what do you see in that one?
Well, I really think if the Alouettes lose this game, that'll be one less excuse they have in terms of whether they can beat the Hamilton Ticats, and one more great point for the Ticats to believe they're Grey Cup contenders. What happens when you beat a team 3 consecutive times? You start to doubt yourself on the other side with the Alouettes. Not necessarily individually, but collectively. You wonder if you can really beat this team in a playoff game. This is really important for Montreal, James, to break that cycle right now, because it really happens in the playoff games where you wonder.
And if Montreal loses this one, they have a couple of tough games with the Argos coming up, so second place might be in jeopardy as well. Now, there are lots of tickets available for both those games, so go out and see them if you're in Hamilton, BC, and here's the rest of the numbers for all around the league. Welcome back. Our players of the week. Mookie for his 4 TDs against the Lions on offense. On D, Orlando Steinhauer. He led the league in interceptions last year. He's doing it again this year. And the top lineman, Joe Montfort. How can these Ticats say they get no respect? They take 2 out of 3 players of the week. Now, we talked about Troy Kopp and his weak performance in the first half, but one thing about a Kopp, if you've got a good partner, you're okay, and he's got a good partner in his defense. They have come up big time after time after time in the first half. Every time the Argos come down close to scoring, well, the Bombers' D has come up big. Let's have a look at it. 3rd and 1, the Argos threatening near the end of the first half, and the Winnipeg defense says, no way, boys. Pinball is thrust backwards. Eric Tillman, the Bombers' defense, keeping them in this football game.
Well, their defense has been outstanding. I mean, they're playing top-notch football. But you just can't continue to put this much pressure on one side of the ball. I mean, Winnipeg has to feel good that it's just 7-0. They have to be delighted with the way their defense is playing. But if they're on the field that much in the third quarter and the fourth quarter, it's going to show up, James.
All right, Chris.
Well, I think with Toronto, on the other hand, is you still have to protect your main quarterback, Kerwin Bell. I've counted 7 shots directly influencing how quick he's getting rid of the football. Daryl Mitchell is at 1 speed. The entire secondary for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers is at another speed. I don't think there's another receiver in the Canadian Football League that can break a pattern and accelerate as well as Daryl Mitchell. Big play guy. He's going to have another big half, I guarantee it, James.
All right, let's have a look at the first half statistics, which are not good offensively for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They didn't have any passing game going, just 53 yards passing. And when that happens, you're going to go 2 and out an awful lot, and that's what happened. As you see the Argos dominating in time of possession almost twice as much as the Bombers in that first half. And as we go to break, let's check out the standings in the CFL. Of course, this game will affect those. Let's start with the Eastern Conference. And if the Argos can win this one, well, they'll only be 2 games behind Montreal, pending the outcome of their game tomorrow against the Ticats. Winnipeg, as we said, you know, it looks like they're out of it. But if you look at the West standings, you know, there is a crossover. So if Winnipeg could catch Saskatchewan or BC, they would qualify and play the second-place team in the West in the playoffs. So you're not dead yet if you're the Bombers, but you have to get something going pretty soon. Second half kickoff is coming up.
This sports break is brought to you by Chrysler Canada.
Welcome back to our TSN Newsroom, everybody. I'm Teresa Cruz. Right-hander David Cohn is trying to become the first 20-game winner in the majors as the Yankees take on the Orioles, but he is suffering from the flu today. First inning, he gets roughed up. Eric Davis will bounce a base hit up the middle, and that'll bring Roberto Alomar in to score 1-0 Orioles. Still in the first, Rafael Palmeiro will line one off the wall and right. Brady Anderson scores, and Palmeiro foolishly goes to second right now. Bottom 4, it's still 2-0 Orioles. Meanwhile, coming up at 6:30 Eastern, it's the Jays and the Devil Rays live on TSN. Woody Williams is on the mound for Toronto. So just a few of the things that we are looking at for you this afternoon. I will be back a little bit later on this afternoon where we will bring you all up to date. More CFL after this.
Hi, I'm Jeff Giles, president of the Canadian Football League.
Hi, I'm Paul Masadi, wide receiver of the Grey Cup champion Toronto Argonauts.
The CFL has been built on a philosophy of safety first. That's why we've joined forces with the Canadian Liver Foundation to raise awareness about hepatitis B and to ensure that all our players are immunized against this serious but preventable disease.
Anybody can catch hepatitis B, but the good news is it can be prevented.
Be offensive, be radical, get immunized against hepatitis B.
As the score might suggest, it has been a rough first half for the quarterbacks, in particular Troy Kopp. 7-0 Argos. No majors in this one, and Kopp not having the kind of day that he had last week, Glenn.
Not at all. I mean, 4 for 12. Troy Kopp is seeing a lot of different coverages out of the Argos. He knew he would. Jeff Reinbold said going into the game, they're going to zone blitz him. They're going to zero blitz him with no help behind, and he's got to try and pick it up. And right now, he's struggling.
So the second half is about to begin off the foot of Troy Westwood. Winnipeg down by 7. By no means out of it, although they need that offense to get in gear and give the defense a rest a little bit, has been pointed out at the half. Defense on the field a lot. And a good return there by Anthony Bookman up across the 35 to 37 yard line. What did the coach think about this at the half? Here's Jeff Reinbold with David Amber.
Well, Coach, you said you wanted to get something out of your rookie quarterback. Right now, 53 yards passing, I guess, isn't going to cut it.
No, and he had chances early. He missed a couple balls close. Demetrius let one go through his hand in a crucial second down situation. The thing that bothers me, David, is that we had field position and didn't get points. You know, we've got to at least get 3 when you get down in there. And, you know, we played hard, and it's never been a problem. Defense played extremely well. But now in the second half, we just got to settle down on offense, and when we get across the 55, get some points.
Down by 7, still a good chance for Winnipeg to win their second game of the year. Back to the guys.
Thank you, David. We had a pass right to start off this first Argo drive, and Maurice Kelly in on Nigel Williams, and it looked like he made the contact a little bit before the ball was there. No flags on the play. No argument either.
Well, the defensive back will get the benefit of the doubt. The ball was overthrown a little bit to Nigel Williams, and Maurice Kelly is locked in on the hit on Nigel Williams, so he's going to get the benefit of the doubt. That ball has gone by. You're allowed to hit him. Let him know you're back there.
Just a little calling card, right?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, that's well within the rules.
And I guess Kelly, just to be sure, is talking it over to the officials.
Well,
right?
that's for the next one.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's fair. That's clean, right? What I just did there? Yeah. Good. Out of the shotgun on 2nd and 10. Good coverage again. And it's completed to Dwayne Demetrician. And well shy of the Argo first down. So once again, that Bomber defense to start this second half is doing its job.
Well, they're doing a nice job of mixing things up. What they're doing right now in Winnipeg is They're blitzing on first down, and then on second down, they're dropping deep into zone and really just sending 3 or 4 on the pass rush. That forces Bell to throw underneath, and on first down is when you're going to have to see Bell come up with a big play. That's when he's going to have to sting this Winnipeg defense, because that's when they're coming with pressure.
Noel Prefontaine, early in the second half, will be punting inside his 30-yard line, and punting to the specialist in the Canadian Football League, Eric Blunt. The lefty gets it away, and Blunt comes in for it at his 30. Gets outside, picks up a couple of blocks, and is twisted down at the 42 after only a 37-yard punt by Noel Prefontaine, well below his average. Let's have a look at the air attack brought to you by Sorel, rugged Canadian original footwear, and how he is distributing that football, or trying to, Glenn, in that first half.
Well, he's attempting to throw it to both the right and left side. He just hasn't hooked up on a lot of passes, and of course, in fairness to Kopp, he's had an Argo defender in his face for the whole first half, so that makes it a little tougher.
Double eagle, double eagle, 140!
And he hands off to start this second half to Eric Blunt, who is going absolutely nowhere, down at about the same point he went down on the punt return, right at the 42-yard line.
Well, I think the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are going to have to look at trying to attack on the running game a little bit more to the perimeter of the Argo defense. I mean, they are really doing a nice job right now up front of pinching off the middle of that defense and not allowing Eric Blunt or any of the Winnipeg running backs to get any yardage in the middle. What they need to do is try and get a little more to the outside and try and work the corners a little bit more.
This Bomber offense has not had the spark it had late last week. That goes without saying. But that pass is complete to Blunt, but good defensive work there by Donald Smith to keep the gain to about 3 yards. It'll be a punting situation again for Winnipeg.
Donald Smith looked like he might have got the worst of that one. You know one thing when you have number 19 in the secondary is that he is going to hit for you. I mean, he's one of the toughest, hardest hitting corners in the league. He kind of drops his head there. It looks like he got a bit of a stinger on his right arm, his right shoulder. And also looking at his hip flexor, it looks like.
One of the 3 Smiths that has been a staple of that secondary for the Argos for the last 3 years. Lester and Adrian back with the team now, and Donald, and the pain, the expression on his face says a lot.
Well, that looks like shoulder. He's not moving that left arm at all. They're pulling out his thumb. He could have a bit of a dislocation there. Obviously in pain.
The Argos with a man down and a 7-point lead. We'll be back after this.
Well, a thumb injury is not bad enough to keep you out of the game, but it is awful painful. And here's what happened to Donald Smith as he comes up on the tackle to Eric Blunt. He's going to get that left thumb right there jammed on Eric Blunt's knee. Bends the thumb all the way back, and when he gets up from it, he had to relocate the thumb joint.
Winnipeg forced to punt thanks to that play by Donald Smith, taken by Bookman with a flag on the play. Looks like no yards as he takes up across the 30-yard line at a 45-yard punt. As Kerwin Bell comes on to go to work again, what's been frustrating for that Argo offense. With a look at the air attack for the Argos, brought to you by Sorel. And Bell, a little bit more success, of course, than Kopp, but still, it's been a bit of a struggle today.
Well, a lot of those numbers, the 7 and the 3 completions to the left and the right, have been underneath, a lot of them to Andrew English. Winnipeg defense doing a nice job of taking away the deep stuff and making Bell throw it underneath.
Holding, Toronto number 26. No yards, Winnipeg. First down.
So penalties against both teams. Kelly Wiltshire called on the hold on the return by Bookman.
Well, this is when Kerwin Bell wants to make hay right here on first down, because so far the Winnipeg defense has given him a steady diet of blitz on first down. He's been watching that, and I'm sure talking to John Jenkins in the spotting booth, this is where they want to try and go over top for the big play.
Argo football up at their 25. Out of the shotgun, everybody on the move. Under pressure, loses the ball. Still on the carpet, Winnipeg has it. Grant Carter gets the recovery, and the Bombers have the football inside the Argo 25.
Well, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers drop into coverage, and I believe it was Tyrone Rogers who's going to strip the football. He's from the right top of your screen. He's going to get the pressure on the quarterback, number 91, working one-on-one on Chris Giaskis, and he's the one who strips it. Joe Fleming can't get it. Grant Carter does, and it's a huge turnover for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, but they have to capitalize right away.
That has fired up that Bombers sideline. This is Winnipeg's best chance to get points. They hit pay dirt here. There have been no touchdowns in this game. They can tie it all up with a touchdown now. Goff. Short throw, falls incomplete, intended for Demetrius Stanley, and looks like still a little bit of confusion on that Winnipeg offense.
Well, Demetrius Stanley has to see the blitz, and he has to turn around. He has to break off his pattern and just look hot. That's what Troy Kopp wanted. Demetrius Stanley's pattern in the play was to run that out. But you can't run it when you got an all-out blitz coming at you. You got to read that, turn around, and make yourself available as a target to your quarterback. He didn't do that. Kopp had to throw the ball.
That ball is on the 23-yard line. Easily field goal range, but they want more. They need more. 11:09 to go until quarter time. Back to throw is Kopp under pressure, and they get him. They wrap him up. And a big loss back to the 36-yard line. Demetrius Maxey is there, and the Argo pressure pays off. A field goal attempt coming, and a lot longer than they initially expected.
Well, it was a coverage sack because Demetrius Maxey was initially blocked by Eric Blunt to the backside, but because there was no one open downfield, you're going to see Maxey working one-on-one in the backside on Eric Blunt. Now, Blunt protects the quarterback initially. Watch the block. He gets down low. He gets a piece of him. But because there's no one open to the field, Troy Kopp has to pull it down, and that allows Maxey to get there.
So the field goal attempt from 41 yards away is good, and the Bombers are on the board. Winnipeg gets something out of the big turnover, and now, once again, they're down by 4. Don't miss CFL Live tomorrow. We got a great one. The two top teams in the East, the Montreal Alouettes visiting the Ticats at Iberwin Stadium for the first time this season. And Hamilton with a big win last week in Montreal, 30-9. The Ticats leading the way at 9-2. Montreal 8-3. 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific time.
Yeah, looking forward to that. I mean, big crowd in Montreal, standing room only for that game last week, and I'm sure the Hamilton fans will respond. I hear it's already over 22,000 tickets sold, so it'll be a great crowd in Hamilton.
First down, Argos. Bell under pressure gets it away to Andrew English, and he's collared out of bounds by Maurice Kelly. And a flag down on the other side of the field.
Well, Andrew English catching a lot of these under patterns. As a defensive back, we used to call it 3 yards and a headache. We'll give you the catch, and then we'll come up and make the tackle on you. And Maurice Kelly, little rodeo takedown there on Andrew English.
Offside. Toronto, number 82. First down repeated.
But the penalty goes against the home team and Nigel Williams. Offside. And they march it off and down just inside the 30-yard line, where it will be 1st and 15 for Don Matthews Argos. Not accustomed to seeing the offense, even this season, struggle along the way it has today, facing an excellent defense. And points are at a premium. Only 10 on the board today. Collectively, 7 for Kerwin Bell. And that Argonaut offense. None coming in the form of touchdowns. We've had none today yet. Settles in, Bell does, and finds Williams to get some of that yardage back up to about the 37-yard line.
Well, right now, the Toronto Argos are seeing a lot more zone out of the Winnipeg Blitz, and with Paul Mazzotti in the receiving core, that's where he will become more of a factor because he's a smart player. You need a guy, a receiver in your offense that can read that zone and find the holes in the zone, and that's how Mazzotti ran all the way across the field. But I would think that Kerwin Bell would come back to Mazzotti again if he keeps getting a steady diet of zone from Winnipeg.
He's about 30 yards shy of the 8,000-yard mark in his great career, Paul Mazzotti. Bell unloads it to Daryl Mitchell across the 40. First down and more. Mitchell across midfield and finally tugged down at the Winnipeg 44. Another big gain Toronto. A 27-yarder.
Daryl Mitchell just completely outruns angles. I mean, Daryl Mitchell's in here, and he's going to come all the way across the field. Maurice Kelly, 24, has to try and track him. Now, he has to run through the pick. That makes him bubble deep. Now, watch how Daryl Mitchell outruns angles. Maurice Kelly has an angle. Lawler has an angle. He almost outruns Lawler's angle to the end zone, and Lawler was like 4 yards deep.
Getting closer to the midway point of the third quarter. Argos up by 4 and on the move out of the shotgun. Kerwin Bell stands in under pressure. Steps up wide open. Dwayne Dimitrition. Touchdown Toronto.
If you get that much time as a quarterback, someone is going to open up. You just simply cannot cover in the secondary all day. Kerwin Bell stepped up in the pocket nicely. Had the great vision downfield, no one in his face, and found Dimitrition.
And the first touchdown of this ball game with 8:39 to go in the third quarter. Eric Bigos with a couple of field goals and a convert now. Also has a single in the game. He's been busy and converts that touchdown to make it 14-3 Toronto.
Well, you can only cover for so long. We just mentioned it. And Dwayne Dimitrition is finally going to find an opening. Watch how Kerwin Bell steps up nicely in the pocket. That gives him the great sight lines. And, yeah, Dimitrition finally opens up, finds a dead space in the zone defense, and then it's just a foot race to the end zone. You know, time of possession is drastically favored the Toronto Argonauts in this game, and it's starting to wear on the Winnipeg defense. In that series, they started to look tired, and Kerwin Bell took advantage of it.
And Bell happy to finally see that offense hit pay dirt. It's been a long haul, even for the Blue, against the Blue Bombers today.
Well, Kerwin Bell has been patient. He's dumped the ball off when he's had to, and he's waited. He's been patient and taken advantage of what Winnipeg has been giving him, and then takes advantage of the fact that they just look tired on that series.
His 16th touchdown pass of 1998. And yes, that offense looking a little more refreshed, and you do have to wonder, with the difference in time of possession, how tired that Winnipeg D is getting. No team has received more kickoffs this season than the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. A dubious stat, given the circumstances, as Eric Blunt stands back there with Demetrius Stanley once again. Blunt now has the Bomber record for most kickoffs in a season, passing Mac Herron back in 1971. And he has this one and takes it up across the 35 to the 39-yard line. This scoring drive brought to you by Chrysler Canada. At Chrysler, we're not just building cars and trucks, we're building Canada. And the Argos are building a lead. 3 plays, 75 yards. Dimitrition hits pay dirt.
Yeah, of course, that was the key play, but it was also a nice play by Daryl Mitchell to set it up. 4-yard crossing pattern turns into a big game because of his speed, and then Dimitrition caps it off with a nice touchdown.
280!
Troy Kopp rolling to his right. Under more pressure, and down he goes. Does he lose the football? Demetrius Maxim moving right in. It's Winnipeg ball at the 39, but a loss on the play of about a yard. Mark it at the 38-yard line.
Once again, on the snap of the ball, Troy Kopp had the short receiver open initially, but now he's holding on to the ball longer than he should. He's trying to look for a big play every down when all he really needs to do is just keep moving the offense, put some first downs together. Right now, Troy Kopp is trying to get a little greedy and look down the field too far.
The difference in sacks, remarkable considering the Argos heading into this game had allowed more sacks than any other team in the CFL, but they lead 4-0 in that department today and nearly get another one. Cobb still under pressure. They will get another. He fumbles it. It's still on the carpet. They're still chasing after it. Argo football deep in Winnipeg territory. It's Kelly Wiltshire finally coming up with it.
Well, Troy Kopp is just not pulling the trigger. He had receivers open downfield. He's obviously confused with the Argo defensive game plan, but he had receivers open. He had time initially. He didn't pull the trigger, and then he gets in trouble. Now, when you're in that kind of situation, put the ball under your arm, take the loss, and punt it away. He'll learn that through experience. But now it's a big play for the Argos, who can capitalize right away, and I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see T.J. Rubley pretty soon.
Winnipeg a -17 in giveaway takeaway ratio. 3-2 Argos in this game. Looks end zone right away. Touchdown Toronto. Nigel Williams.
John Kalin, the backup safety for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, has played because Brad Elberg had some penalties early. John Kalin got caught shallow on the play.
And a close game is opening up wide with this convert by Eric Bigos. The score goes to 21-3 Toronto. The momentum clearly in the hands of the Argonauts now.
Well, the touchdown is set up because Kerwin Bell did a nice job of pulling John Kalin out of the middle of that defense, and Nigel Williams is the guy who benefits from it with the touchdown pass. When Kerwin Bell rolls to his left, see number 22 to the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, starts to go way over there, and he goes over there too shallow. We'll show you where he ends up, because right here, stop it right there. That's John Kalin. He started here and went flat with the rollout. Had he gone deeper, he would have been right in the throwing lane. Because he got caught so shallow, Nigel Williams takes advantage of it, and it's a pretty easy pitch and catch from Kerwin Bell, and he'll take that one every time.
Now, as you pointed out earlier, John Kalin is in this game, the backup safety, because Brad Elberg had a couple of penalties. One, the unnecessary roughness out of bounds on Daryl Mitchell, and then subsequently arguing, so unsportsmanlike, that cost Winnipeg 30 yards. And so Jeff Reinbold took him out of the game. And Kalin in.
Yeah, you know, the thing is, though, Jeff Reinbold has to feel comfortable when he puts John Kalin in. Kalin has 5 years experience in the league, and that was just a mistake that he shouldn't have made. And, you know, I mean, Jeff Reinbold has to have confidence in John Kalin going into the football game.
And you see the time of possession. That defense has got to be getting tired now. Over 23 minutes for Toronto, but 14 minutes for Winnipeg. On the return, Demetrius Stanley gets up across the 30 to about the 32-yard line, where Troy Kopp and company will come out and see if they can get this offense sparked. So far, there has been nothing today. 3 points to show for it after a turnover, but that's it. Let's go to David Amber on the Winnipeg sideline. David.
Thanks, Rod. Yesterday we spoke to Jeff Reinbold, and he said he wanted to get Sean Millington in as his feature back and get him into the play, give a little pressure, take a little pressure off the rookie QB. That hasn't been the case today. Millington's barely touched the ball. In fact, he's only the third leading rusher on this Winnipeg Blue Bomber team. The 30-year-old from Simon Fraser obviously is going to have to get the ball a bit more if Winnipeg's going to have to move in and make a game of this one. Back to you guys.
Thank you, David. They set up the screen. Eric Blunt's got it. Has some room. Here we go. Eric Blunt across midfield in the 40. One man back, and they finally catch up to him and take him out of bounds at the Argo 22. It's Donald Smith getting back, and Adrian Smith there as well.
Well, part of the reason that Sean Millington isn't seeing the football because he's just not playing. It's been Eric Blunt, the feature back. He's just going to go out there and then turn around for the screen. First of all, he has to make the one-handed catch right there in the open field. Once he makes the one-handed catch, a great move on Lester Smith to the inside, and then it's a foot race. And hey, Don Smith's second effort to come back and catch him saves the touchdown, or Eric Blunt's doing the dance.
The two Smiths, Adrian and Donald, preventing a touchdown in a 55-yard game. See what Kopp can do now. It's knocked down. Batted down by Kelly Wiltshire, who earlier had recovered that fumble before by Kopp on the previous drive, and another big play for the Boatman D.
When you leave your feet, you're taking a bit of a risk, and Kelly Wiltshire comes off the corner. Number 26 jumps up with this ball. Now, if Kopp pulls it down and takes off running, Wiltshire has no shot, but he gambled and won.
Winnipeg needs a touchdown. All the momentum has been on Toronto's side up until that big play to Eric Blunt. The numbers not looking good in Kopp's favor. He throws another one. It's caught, but it's a short gain. And they say no fumble. They say no catch. Ruled incomplete. And it'll be 3rd down Winnipeg. A field goal will be the best they can do.
Rod, Kelly Wiltshire must have heard me, because this time he comes on the exact same defensive blitz from the right. But watch how he doesn't leave his feet. Troy Kopp tried to pump fake him so he would jump again and then take off running. This time Wiltshire doesn't leave his feet, keeps on his pattern, and Troy Kopp has to just throw it away.
That ball was thrown to Milt Stiegel, but as said, they rule it no catch. And so we've got a 31-yard field goal attempt for Troy Westwood. Well within his range. The lefty puts it up and puts it in, and chalk up 3 more for the Bombers, but they're still down big time with 4:50 to go until 3/4 time. 21-6. The frustration with this Winnipeg offense this year has been failing to capitalize on chances. That's been the real problem for Jeff Reinbold's team this year, and despite what happened last week against Saskatchewan, we're seeing more of the same, yes, with Troy Kopp at the helm.
You got to start to wonder when T.J. Rubley may start warming up on the sideline. Rubley, the guy, of course, Jeff Reinbold wanted to go with from the beginning of the season. And Troy Kopp had, of course, the big second half last week. We talked about it, and that bought him the start here. But he's having trouble making decisions, and he's having trouble pulling the trigger. He's had open receivers downfield. He's been hesitating, and he's really not picking up the blitzes from the Argos. And I think it's going to be time T.J. Rubley should see the field.
Because of a penalty against Winnipeg, they're going to have to try this again, this time from the 36-yard line. 5 yards further back for Westwood. And same result. Plenty of distance. And the 3 points can finally go on the board. Another 3. And it is a 21-6 ball game for the Argos. Westwood was one of the players that was totally psyched up at what happened last week. In fact, he was reportedly running around screaming in the ear of his old teammate Larry Thompson. Asked about it later, what he was thinking. He said, I wasn't thinking at all. It was primal. It was totally primal. That's the way the Bombers have reacted. Wow. The emotions, and you talked about Jeff Reinbold crying afterwards that finally get that win. They were so excited, but a lot of that feeling has to be dissipating now here in the 3rd quarter at Skydome.
Well, I've been in that situation. You know, we in Saskatchewan in the mid-'80s, we struggled and been in 7-game, 8-game losing streaks, and when you finally break it, it really is an emotional flood that hits you, because you just, you know, you work so hard all the time, and it consumes every moment of your life, and when you're losing, it's miserable. So when you can snap the streak, boy, does it ever feel good.
3 to the right for Bell, but he looks to his left. Wants Mitchell, and he's hit a ton. Just as he tries to catch the football, it's incomplete. And once again, Bell knocked down after that pass. Helped up.
Boy, Brandon Hamilton made up some serious distance to catch up and make the play. Brandon Hamilton has been the best defensive back in the Winnipeg secondary for 2 years, and he made up about 5 yards of ground to get up in there and knock that ball down. And you know what? That wasn't his man. That was John Kalin's man. He was trying to get over top, but Brandon Hamilton saw the ball in the air, took off running, and poked that one out of there.
It'll be 2nd and 10 now for Bell and the Argonauts. Still up by 15 points. Having a much better second half. Couple of touchdowns. Steps in again and has Nigel Williams in traffic. Fumbles the football, but Andrew English is there right on the spot. 1st down Argonauts near midfield.
Don Robinson, the reason this play is successful is because Kerwin Bell has time, because Don Robinson is in coverage to the outside, and he's caught between a rock and a hard place. In one case, he's got Andrew English. On the other side, he's got Nigel Williams. He had to make a choice. He picked English, and then he picked wrong because Kerwin Bell had lots of time. He looks off Don Robinson and then throws it into the middle and throws a strike.
Down to the field, John!
You're right. Bell looks good stepping up and having that clear sight in this second half. There's a little bit of clear room here for pinball. He can make the room where it's not even there, dancing around and picking up, or close to, another Argonaut first down.
Well, you know the defense starts to tire when you see them starting to miss tackles. Now, pinball make you miss in the best of times at the beginning of the game or at the end, but the Winnipeg defense is starting to miss a couple of tackles, and that's when pinball really can make hay, make first, second guy miss and pick up a lot of extra yards.
It takes a lot to rile Mike Clements. I've never seen him riled, in fact, but I read a story this week that when it was suggested that the Argos had a poor running game, he actually got angry at the suggestion, saying we're a pass-first type of team. That's the way we are, and that's why our rushing numbers are down. Bell airs it out again, and nobody's home. The closest is Brandon Hamilton, and it just sails out of bounds. A little mix-up there for the Argos.
Yeah, Mazzotti zigged. Bell thought he was going to zag. Do it the opposite way, but you know, you talk about that running game and how important it is to the Argo offense. Well, you know what, it's important to establish it, but they have that shovel series, which is really just a glorified run. I mean, that's basically a running play to pinball. It's a little forward pass, but you can classify that as a run. So, you know, I mean, a lot of those stats go under the pass category when really it is just part of their running game.
I think the real story is pinball got mad. You ever seen him mad?
No, never.
It's incredible. Dumped off. Oh, nice one-handed grab there by English. He was given a rough ride out of bounds by Nick Ferguson right around the line of scrimmage. If there's a gain, it might be a yard.
This defense in Winnipeg is really starting to tire. After tackles, they're got their heads down. They're hanging on to their knees. They're trying to get to their breath. Come fourth quarter, that's when that really starts to hurt. They do their job on the series, get the punt return team back on the field, but they're starting to tire.
And the offense will get the ball back, though. It's Noel Prefontaine back at his 50. The second best punting average behind Tony Martino of Calgary in the CFL. A rookie that also had the place kicking chores earlier, but has been alleviated of those, concentrating on punting. And what a great punter he is from midfield. Tight spiral, angled to get the better field position, and they do hem the Bombers deep. Winnipeg's going to have to scrimmage from about their 6-yard line.
Perfect punt. Perfect punt. We'll see Troy Kopp again. TJ Rubley hasn't even taken off the baseball hat or warmed up at all, so it's like Reinbold is sticking with the guy who got him his first win.
It must have been awkward for TJ Rubley last week in the locker room when the team celebrated and emotions were running high. Obviously, he feels good for his team. If he's a team player, he'd have to. But you also have to wonder, since he wasn't the guy getting it done and he'd been the one all along trying to, it must have been mixed feelings for him.
Well, I think it's mixed feelings, but I think it's probably a little bit of relief for TJ Rubley. I mean, this is a guy who was a first-year player in the league who had a tremendous amount of pressure on him, was feeling the heat. And now with 2 quarterbacks, he can just really relax and do his thing.
The handoff after the fake goes to Blunt. Spins, gains a little bit more yardage. Up across the 10-yard line, but still well shy of a first down, second down. And that Argo defense doing much like Winnipeg has been doing in this game, swarming.
Well, the Argo defense is well rested. A little bit of a reverse play there to Mitch running. He gets to the outside, but watch the great pursuit. Eric Johnson's up there, and the Argo jersey's just flying over there. A lot of bullets flying around and running on that play. They're well rested. They've been on the bench most of the game, this Argo defense.
They look fired up now. Out of the shotgun. Back near his end zone. Throws it high for Eric Blunt, and that one is incomplete. And once again, and 3rd and long, we will see the Bombers punt, this time from their end zone.
Troy Kopp has open receivers. I've been watching the receiving core of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers as he's standing in the pocket, and he is just hesitating. He's hesitating with the football. He's not pulling the trigger.
Boy, you just don't get to enjoy it very long, do you? I mean, barring a spark in the 4th quarter, 10 seconds to go until 3-quarter time, but barring something, all that great emotion that Jeff Reinbold got to experience last week is just about out the window now.
Well, he's got to get a big play out of his defense.
He gets a big punt from Bob Cameron from his end zone, chasing Bookman right around midfield. Bookman turns back, but a very short return on a 43-yard punt from Bob Cameron. We're through 3 quarters here at Skydome. The Argos lead 21-6. Back to CFL Live Control.
You're watching CFL Live, and we're at the quarter. Here's your host, James Duthie.
Well, all through the first half, the Bombers' defense seemed to bend but not break. Bend but not break, but sooner or later, you will break, especially when you get no help at all from the offense. This has been the story for the Bombers all year long in the third quarter. Just 25 points for, 95 against. That's 2 a game points for the Bombers, and outscored 26-9 versus Toronto in that quarter this season. And you cannot win football games like this. Chris Schultz, what happens at halftime?
Well, what is supposed to happen at a halftime of a professional football game? The players go in there, they relax, you have a drink of water, you kind of talk to your buddy, you say, hey, how's it going? You kind of communicate between 2 individuals. Then the offense or the defensive coordinator is supposed to bust down the door and say, hey, guys, this is what we have to do. A, B, C, and D. This is what we haven't done. C, D, E, F, and G. Right now, we're going to focus on this, and we're going to do that. In Winnipeg, it seems like they get together and say, well, what are you doing after the game? I don't know. What are you doing after the game? There is no intensity, no adjustment, nothing profitable comes out of that halftime, Eric. It's amazing how apathetic they are on the offensive side of the football, but not the defensive side of the football.
Well, Chris, as we talked about at halftime, it's real simple. If the defense stays on the field too long, they run out of gas. And let's be honest, this Winnipeg offense has been absolutely awful, just totally inept. On the flip side, if you give Toronto the ball enough, they're going to make some plays. They've got good weapons.
Now, one positive thought for Bomber fans. There haven't been many today, but yes, remember what happened last week? You scored 4 TDs in the fourth quarter. It'll be tough today against that Toronto defense. Guys, take it away.
Well, I have to disagree a little bit with my panel members there, with Chris Schultz talking about the Bombers defense. You know, I think that this is a team that obviously works hard and gets in the locker room and tries to game plan to get better. I would agree with Eric Tillman that they're on the field too long defensively, and that's going to hurt you as the game wears on. But this is a defense that has played inspired football throughout the season, and when you come off the emotional high of your first win in 11 starts, it's awful tough to get back up. It's just human nature, and Toronto right now is controlling the football. They're dominating the time of possession. Over 26 minutes for Toronto so far in this game. Winnipeg with the ball for just 18, so they almost have 10 more minutes of ball possession, and that wears on your defense in a big way.
It certainly has shown here in the second half in that third quarter as we get ready to start quarter number 4. And James Duthie referred to what happened last week. Winnipeg needs a spark in a big way, and this time they don't have a new quarterback coming in, at least not yet anyway, to provide that spark. Troy Kopp has not had it at all. A flag down on the play there on that first down for Toronto. When I talked about everything out the window for Jeff Reinbold, as we hear the penalty.
Illegal contact on an eligible receiver, Winnipeg number 26. First down.
That's Reggie Carthon called on that play. To put it in perspective, I shouldn't say everything's out the window, because I suppose in many ways you can't take away what happened last week in Winnipeg. Kenny Plain, legendary quarterback for the Bombers, went into Jeff Reinbold later and said to him, that was the most magical moment that I'd seen in this stadium in 40 years. And you're talking about some great Bomber teams and great Bomber wins over the years. So I shouldn't say it destroys everything, but obviously this got to be a discouraged ball club after they thought they had something to build on so far here in Toronto. No signs of that at all. The handoff to Pinball Clements finds some yardage over the right side across the 35, and they're in scoring range again on the Bombers. The ball stands at the 34.
Well, it's an interesting point you make about Jeff Reinbold. I mean, it was a magical moment for that team last week, no question about it. The fans deserved to win. They finally got one at home. But Jeff Reinbold now has to look at what he has and some of the positives. He just got Milt Stegall back in his offense. That's going to pay big dividends down the road. He just got Shante Peoples back in his defense. Now, granted, they've both been quiet today, but it's their first start. They're going to take some time to get back into the flow of things. He's got to build on some of these positives and look to the future. It's tough. It's hard to do it, but you got to do it that way. You got to look positive.
hard to see it right now the way it's gone today as Bell gets out of pressure and wide open is English again. Paul Mazzotti, I should say. They rule him down at the 5-yard line. Paul Mazzotti with the catch. And he was wide open, coming back to the football after Bell got out of pressure.
And that's the key. The veteran Paul Mazzotti comes back to the football. He could have very easily, he was wide open on the sideline to the left. Bell sees him, finally gets the ball out of there. And if Paul Mazzotti waits for that football to come to him, it's not a completion. Brandon Hamilton makes the play, but because Mazzotti comes back and works himself back to the football, he beats the angle of Brandon Hamilton, who tags him, and he is down with his knees down. But Mazzotti doesn't even make that catch if he doesn't take those 3 steps back towards the game, towards the ball.
Mazzotti looking a little discouraged there, despite the catch that puts the Argos on the door again. Sending 3 out to the right again. Handing off to Clemens. Pinball. Touchdown, Toronto. The pinball puts another one on the board, and the Argos are starting to run away.
Well, for those people who said that the Argos don't have a running game, this is a pretty good-looking running play.
Don't make this guy mad,
yeah,
right?
Don't get pinball, man. I mean, this is a guy who smiles all the time. Especially if you're the opposing defenders, you certainly don't want to have him mad. Pretty well-executed running play, and pinball broke a couple of tackles.
And a hug there from offensive line coach, coordinator Jim Barker. And the kick up and through by Eric Vigos. It was close at the half. It's not close anymore. Argos make this one 28-6.
Well, by the design of the Winnipeg defense, there's only one guy that could make the play. That was Reggie Carthon, but Chris Giaskis, the big guard for the Argos, came across and made the nice block. Watch Giaskis here, pulled to his left. Now, there's only one guy, Reggie Carthon, who can come in, slice in there, and make the tackle on pinball, but right there to the left of your screen was the huge block, Giaskis on Reggie Carthon, and that allows pinball to get into the end zone.
Touchdown, the 3rd on the day for the Argos, who had none in that first half, and now with a big lead by 22 points into this 4th quarter. And the scoring drive brought to you by Chrysler Canada. Pinball Clemens finishing it off, 4 plays and 50 yards. And that Winnipeg defense on the field for a chunk of time again and starting to soften.
We talked about Mazzotti becoming more involved, and he had the big catch and the key play on the drive.
And very close now to 8,000 career yards for Paul Mazzotti. Kopp is hammered again. Picked up by the Argos. This'll go. Kelly Wiltshire. Another Argo touchdown.
The play is designed for Demetrius Maxey to be free from the backside. By Kopp rolling out, he is in effect his own blocker, but he's got to pull the trigger. Maxey's coming from the backside, number 91. He's got to pull the trigger and dump the ball off. He hasn't been doing it, gets hit right in the back, and the ball hits the turf. Demetrius Maxey is not blocked by design. The rollout blocks him. You got to get rid of the football.
And a couple of key fumble recoveries for Kelly Wiltshire. He had one in the 3rd quarter as well that led to a Toronto touchdown. The second one, he takes it in himself. High fives and chest bumps all around on that sideline. And the margin just continues to grow wider. Vigos through again. Argos 35, Winnipeg 6.
You can't block them all, so what you try and do is you try and roll away from pressure. Demetrius Maxey's right here. He's coming from the backside. Now, you're not going to block him. You're going to roll away from him. But you see number 81 running. He's open in the flat. Again, Kopp's looking downfield, trying to get too much. Doesn't dump the ball off when he has the open receiver, and Maxey gets there.
And what a second half for that Argo defensive front. And for Kopp, everything that went so right last week is all going so wrong today at Skydome.
Well, he's going to have to learn to take his game to the next level. We talked about it at the beginning of the game. It's one thing to come in relief when no one knows anything about you. It's another thing when you have a chance to watch film, you look at the guy's throwing motion, and you game plan for him. It's a different story, and Kopp's finding that out in a hurry.
Last week, Winnipeg got the points off turnovers. That was a key to their comeback over Saskatchewan. But they're getting buried by them now. It was 7-0 Toronto at the half. The Argos have exploded in this second half as Bigos kicks off again. Taken by Blunt. Across the 30. And gets a little bit more across the 35 to about the 37-yard line.
Well, Troy Kopp's going back in the ball game again, you know, and I've talked about it now for about 5-7 minutes in the second half that I'm surprised that we haven't seen TJ Rubley. You know, TJ Rubley's no question has struggled as the starting quarterback in Winnipeg. Well documented. He was 0-10 as their starter. But he's had a chance now to stand on the sidelines for 2.5 quarters, 3 quarters of play here. Watch the game, come in relief, maybe a different story for him.
Well, going to someone in relief certainly worked for Winnipeg last week, and it doesn't look like anything to lose. Nice catch there. And number 89, Cotto Cotton. A big first down for Winnipeg. Under 12 minutes to go now. Cotton had the touchdown catch last week that got them to within a touchdown against Saskatchewan.
Well, maybe Troy Kopp could have been in hurry-up all game. Of course, he was in the hurry-up to bring them back last week and had some success in the first play in the hurry-up here.
There's a sense of urgency now, to be sure. Another completed pass and a good pop by Donald Smith on Demetrius Stanley as soon as he got it.
Well, see, early in this quarter, that's the pass that Kopp wasn't making. Now, yes, Stanley took a big hit there from Donald Smith, but he also gained 5 yards. Now you're in 2nd and 5. Kopp pulled the trigger, took the short pass, took what he got. Now he's got way more plays in his playbook to look at in 2nd and short.
Calls the play, takes it out of shotgun. Kopp. That one is a little bit short, actually had to be the way the coverage was, and it goes incomplete. Intended for Matt DeBuck, number 5.
Well, I also am a little surprised that the punting team's coming on now. And there's 11 minutes left, but with this kind of margin, I mean, I'm pretty much in 3-down football.
Absolutely, 29-point difference. 11 minutes on the clock, and the ball's at midfield. And it would be a 3rd and 5. But
you never know, though. Maybe there's a fake in the playbook.
Well, Bob Cameron's an old quarterback at Acadia, won a Hick Crichton Trophy, top college player in the country back in the late 70s.
Canadian rifle.
But he punts, and not a particularly good punt. Bookman takes it across the 20, 25, up near the 30-yard line. 37-yarder for Bob Cameron. Pretty good return for the Argos, who have the ball back in a huge lead, 35-6.
This sports break is brought to you by Midas. Car care, the way it should be.
Welcome back to our TSN newsroom, everybody. I'm Teresa Cruz. The Red Sox are looking to their ace this afternoon, Pedro Martinez, to try to bring them closer to clinching the American League wildcard berth as they take on the White Sox this afternoon. We're going to take you to the 2nd inning. It's still scoreless at this point. 2-on for Mike Cameron. Takes Martinez deep to left, and it is gone. A 3-run shot. That'll make it 3-0 White Sox. Top of the 3rd. 4-0 Chicago, and Albert Bell is up and sends one deep to the left as well. Troy O'Leary backing up and will make this leaping catch at the wall, but a run scores on the sacrifice. 5-0 Chicago. That's the way it stands right now in the bottom of the 7th. That is good news for the Blue Jays. Coming up at 6:30 Eastern, the Jays and the Devil Rays live on TSN. We're going to take you back to the Skydome now.
Rod Smith along with Glenn Suter back at Skydome. Glenn had some keys for Don Matthews' Argonauts today, and I think those keys have been pretty well going to form, Glenn.
Well, let's just check them off here. Pressure Kopp, well, they've done a good job. Only 129 yards passing, and Kopp's been confused most of the game. Contain Blunt, 17 yards rushing. They really have shut him down, especially offensively, and established the run. Well, that's one that got away on him a little bit, but 2 out of 3 is good enough for the Argos tonight.
Not too bad, and I guess the point for the Argos, they didn't have to establish the run, because stuff like this, the pass, Daryl Mitchell, another big game, Toronto inside the Winnipeg 40. When you can pass like that, especially in the second half, you don't need to run, right?
No question about it. I mean, this is what we talked about, the short passing game for the Argos really being part of their running game, whether it be shovel or little hitch screen passes. This one goes to Mitchell, and then just let him do his thing. I mean, great speed and acceleration, gets some pretty good blocks downfield. Again, Chris Giashkas helps out. Morgan all the way down. That's the long run for Morgan.
And last year's Rookie of the Year continues to rack up huge yardage in 1998. 4 touchdowns last week. A 43-yard gain there. Oh, that looked like another completion down inside the 20, but Daryl Mitchell could not hang on.
You know what? He's had a great football game and been one of the keys for the Argos in this game, but this will be the only play that he remembers. He does a real nice job right here. Watch the good pattern, gets open on Nick Ferguson, gets some space, and then just drops the rock. That's the one he'll remember. He'll think about that one all night till next week when they play again.
I tell you, though, he is on pace to destroy the single-season receptions record, and perhaps in yardage as well. Projects to 157 catches. Great season. 2nd and 10. Under pressure. Bell gets out of it again. Downfield. Off a pair of hands and incomplete. Intended for Nigel Williams down about the 15-yard line.
Well, I'm not sure how Bell got away from Grant Carter. But, you know, we talked about the fatigue of the Winnipeg defense, and Grant Carter is going to get pressure from the right side. But he is tired, been on the field all game, and when he gets to the point of making the tackle, he just throws that left arm up there. Bell steps up in the pocket, avoids it, and throws the football. That's where the fatigue factor starts to get to you. You're not quite as low to the ground. You don't bend your knees quite as much, and that's when you start missing tackles.
So the Argos will see if they can add another 3 points to their total, which stands at 35. This ball will come down at the 45. Put down by Masadi. Bigos picks up another field goal. The Argos increase their lead to 38-6. Just over 9 minutes to go.
The greatest show on turf will blow you away this summer. See the lions, ferocious tiger cats, performing horses, and the one and only human pinball. CFL 1998. It's the greatest show on turf. Radically Canadian and radically affordable. For Toronto Argo ticket info, call toll-free 1-888-654-6529.
TSN is another tilt tonight. This one in the ring. Boxing. The champ, Evander Holyfield, against the #1 IBF contender, Vaughn Bean.
And Rod, I think you got to tune in early for that one. Make sure you see the first couple of rounds.
That's your advice, eh?
Well, my prediction.
See how long Mr. Bean can go?
I'm not exactly qualified as a fight analyst.
Sure you are.
But I'm thinking
he hit him and he went down.
That one lasts about 30 seconds.
Right. Evander Holyfield on TSN tonight. On TSN right now, the Bombers trying to get back into a game that's really got away from them. Winnipeg's keys heading into this one. Now, you can see it hasn't worked out too well so far.
Yeah, didn't get that one. Peoples really hasn't had a whole lot of pressure. We haven't talked about him. Didn't get that one, and not one catch for Milt Stegall. 3 strikes.
Stegall just back his first game after leaving New Orleans in the NFL, and leading receiver in the CFL last year. Nothing to show for it today. 2nd down and 5. Eric Blunt to the screen. And shy of first down yardage.
Well, if anything, Troy Kopp is getting a lot of experience. He's stayed in the game the whole time. We talked about the fact that we may see TJ Rubley. We haven't. So Troy Kopp although he struggled and continues to struggle, he is getting valuable game experience, and down the road, that pays off.
Well, when you're down by this much, 32 points, it's no big deal to go for it on third down. The clock ticking midway through the fourth quarter. It'll be 3rd and 1. Top to throw. Quick pass, and that's the way Winnipeg's day has gone. Demetria Stanley cannot hang on to it. And the Argos will take over on downs. A miserable day for Winnipeg, especially in the second half.
Yeah, they really haven't got it together offensively at all now. I mean, you got to give credit where credit's due, and this Argo defense, who once again is the strength of their football team, has really given Kopp a bunch of different looks, things he hasn't seen before, and he really hasn't been able to handle it.
This is the 3rd meeting between these two teams this year, and surprisingly, given the momentum of Winnipeg, this one is so far the most decisive for Toronto. Toronto actually struggled in early August the 6th against Winnipeg. They ultimately won at 29-14, but trailed at the half, and then they met a couple of weeks later, actually on the 27th, and they won it a little more easily, 37-16, but this stands at 38-6, a 32-point difference. And the Argos are in business again. And Jay Barker is the quarterback, replacing Kerwin Bell, and he's in trouble right away, shuffles it off. He's completed it. Jeremy O'Day has it. Oh, a lineman's dream down for first down yardage. Yes, he was an eligible receiver. Wow.
Well, Jay Barker just scrambling around, tries to dump this one off, finally gets it away, and Jeremy O'Day, wearing number 96, comes up with the catch.
But look at the hands waving.
Great hands.
I'm open.
And then a little tiptoe down the field. That's not a bad run.
He's got the form to break some tackles. Give a reception to Jeremy O'Day, one more than Milt Stiegel has. My goodness, who would have thought that coming into this game?
Well, in the offensive game film, Jeremy O'Day is going to want to see that a dozen times. You know, he's going to talk to all the receivers, say, you know, this is how you get it done, boys. Use your hands, turn the corner, get your high knees going, get up on your toes. That looks like it's all in a day's work.
He looks all business. Like, yeah, cut a pass.
Yeah.
What's the big deal? Gonna go out and get another one, run another route. Jay Barker in. Barker, after a preseason injury to Kerwin Bell, started the season for him. Such a difference in first downs. The Argos picked up another one, and they hand off to Pinball, who was stuffed up at the 25. But Barker actually did very well filling in for Kerwin Bell. That was a concern. He had passing records at Alabama in his time there. Great quarterback, and he had a lot of poise in getting the Argos kick-started to this season. And what it did show, I'm sure, is that Don Matthews has another dependable guy he can go to if Bell goes down.
Well, that's right. And we talked about that early in the year, that Jay Barker, who really did a nice job, like you mentioned, Rod, in the beginning of the season, gained a lot of experience. And that will pay off as the season progresses, and especially in the playoffs. Now they know if Kerwin Bell goes down or is nicked in a game and has to miss a series or two, that Jay Barker can come in and really get it done. And that provides a lot of confidence to your offense and your coaching staff when you have two quarterbacks that can really pull the trigger for you. That experience early is really going to pay off down the stretch for Don Matthews. And, you know, you have to credit the offensive coaching staff. And John Jenkins is a big part of that for the Argos, because Jenkins, when Jay Barker was playing as a rookie, didn't give him a whole lot. He really narrowed the play package down for Jay Barker so that he only had a few plays to work with, and really tried to eliminate a lot of the thinking that had to go on for Jay Barker. So he really only had one or two reads in any given play, and that's a credit to John Jenkins right there, the offensive coordinator. You know, when you got a young guy, you really limit the playbook so that he can have success with just his athletic ability, and they really work together well early, and it will pay off down the line.
The game that really impressed me, you and I worked it together, the Argos in BC in week 3, and you remember they had some fundamental problems, some bad shotgun snaps, and Barker took everything in stride, and he took some hits and showed his toughness as well. Not only his ability to stay in and throw it well, and he had a good game, and the Argos won that one against BC that night, but he did take some pops and showed some toughness.
You know, he's got tons of poise. I mean, a guy who played at Alabama, had a 35-2-1 record as a starter. He played in a ton of big games in college with a lot of pressure on him and huge crowds. So he knows how to handle the pressure from his college days. Now it's just a matter of learning the game and executing it, and that's where John Jenkins helped him out early in the season.
Crimson Tide noted for some of the quarterbacks they brought out a few years ago, the likes of Joe Willie Namath and Kenny Stabler, and the passing records belonging to that guy, Jay Barker. And Don Matthews had every bit of confidence in him when the season began, when people were wondering, what are you going to do now when you got rookie quarterbacks, him and Nealon Green, to start the season when Kerwin Bell has to be out for several weeks. Matthews looking to put another win in the books and add to his total and make this a 7-5 Argonaut team, and still thinking about first place in the East. They need to win a lot of games to keep pace with the Tiger Cats and the Alouettes. 3 go to the left. Play action fake. Barker intercepted. It's picked off, and Hawking dishes it off to the faster Maurice Kelly. He could be gone. Maurice Kelly, nobody near him. And the whistles go as a fight breaks out back at the 40-yard line. A Bomber touchdown, although the whistles went. Tyrone Rogers, and flags go down.
They are swinging at each other. Maurice Kelly all the way at one end of the field, the fight going on at the other. Tyrone Rogers got up swinging from the bottom of a pile. Now,
and Steve Salter, excuse me, Glenn, backup offensive lineman, was the other one involved for the Argos. Reinbold out on the field and mayhem breaking out. Maurice Kelly was running it in for a touchdown when whistles blew before he got in. He was at about the 20 when the fight was breaking out between Salter and Rogers.
Well, it really was a heads-up play for Hawking to get the ball to Maurice Kelly. Obviously a little quicker down the sideline,
and rightly so. It is a Winnipeg touchdown. It would have been incredible if they'd let that whistle stand while he was running in. The official bringing it down to the 5-yard line for the convert attempt.
Major foul, rough play, disqualification, Winnipeg 91. Major foul, rough play, disqualification, Toronto number 68. Both penalties are after the play. Touchdown stands.
So the Bombers finally pick up a major. As you see, the heated Tyrone Rogers kicked out of this game along with Steve Salter. Look at Salter there, product of Ottawa U, and three heated exchanges in this one.
Well, Steve Salter doesn't get a lot of playing time, and when he did get in the game, is going to get hit in the pocketbook for being disqualified, and as will Tyrone Rogers. You never know what was said or done in the bottom of that pile to start that fight, but obviously frustration in Tyrone Rogers' part. Defense that's been on the field the whole game and is tired and angry at another loss, and certainly didn't need a young kid probably swinging at him in that play.
The hockey equivalent would have been someone skating in on a breakaway with a fight back at the other blue line, and all the attention seemed to go back while Maurice Kelly crossed the line in for the touchdown. No one seemed to notice.
And they better keep Salter and Tyrone Rogers separated in the tunnel, because they may just go at it right there. If Tyrone Rogers has his way, he'll find him.
You don't often see fighting in football. It's rather senseless when you try to hit somebody with your bare hands or even taped hands when you're hitting a helmet or a mask, but it got downright nasty. And a 2-point convert try here with it 38-12. Copp. Complete blunt, and he does get in for the 2 points to make it 38-14, but still not even within shouting distance with 5:20 to go.
Well, it was a nice interception by Doug Hawking and a pitch to Maurice Kelly. Jay Barker doesn't see Hawking in the drop, and he puts his hands up, knocks it down, catches it twice, and then the heads-up play to pitch it out to Maurice Kelly, who's got the good speed down the sideline. He outruns all the offensive linemen to the end zone. And about 70 yards the opposite end of the field is where the prelim to the Holyfield fight was going on.
Yeah, by the time... That's right. We told you we had fights on today on TSN.
Yeah.
More ways than one. By the time he was crossing the end zone, I bet you most of the eyes in the stadium weren't even watching that. It was a foregone conclusion. They were looking at the scrap going on back at about the 30-yard line of Winnipeg.
Well, a little bit of reward for the Winnipeg defense, who once again played hard. Losing effort.
Absolutely. It should be fitting that they account for the only Winnipeg touchdown in this game. They certainly deserve it more than the Bomber offense did today. (38-14) Argos, still very much in control with 5:20 to go. Darryl Mitchell back. Mike Pinball Clements for this Troy Westwood kickoff from the 35. Punches it. Rolls right to the pinball. Slowly approaches the gathering. Gets up near the 40, still on his feet. Clements across the 45. No quit. But the 46-yard line. It's down to the sideline now and get an explanation of all this from David Amber. David?
Thanks, Rod. Well, the little tussle there with Steve Salter and Tyrone Rogers. Rogers looked like he got the worst of it. He left the game with a cut lip. I guess the Argos are taunting them. I hear Reinbold come over and say to the guys, don't worry about what they're saying. Don't worry about anything except what you're doing out on the field. Keep a level head and let's get another touchdown and get back in this game. That's what Reinbold's telling the team to do right now. Back to you.
Thank you, David. It's the third meeting of the year between these two, but they do meet again. And we'll be there at Winnipeg Stadium October the 30th. The bad blood is simmering. It'll be interesting to see what goes on at that one based on the way things are ending here. I'm sure the memories will be strong. John Matthews talking to Byron Capers. He's done some double duty today. Seen him out running a lot of routes. That offense, and of course, playing in the secondary.
Yeah, I think this is a situation now where we're going to see a lot of backups, and Don Matthews try to protect his players with the lead.
And in the game is Bookman. And Bookman over a table he goes, took a late shove. Brandon Hamilton riding him out. But this isn't going to slow down the simmering at all, that's for sure, after a gain of 26.
Well, I don't know that this was intentional on Brandon Hamilton's part. I mean, Bookman took off running. We talked about the backups playing. Well, there's one of the backups right there. Anthony Bookman going to the outside, and he was in bounds when he got pushed. No question about that. And it just happened to be the drink table right there. And it's just lucky that Anthony Bookman got hit on those thigh pads and wasn't injured.
And Brandon Hamilton went right up to him, gave him a pat on the back afterwards.
Yeah,
everything seems clear.
Yeah, Brandon Hamilton is not a cheap football player, not at all.
First and 10, though, for the Argos. The Bomber 37. Getting a little bit of action now. The game that's been Argo dominated. And tonight's game story this afternoon is brought to you by the Keg Steakhouse and Bar for great steaks, good friends. See you tonight. Yeah, the story. Well, Kopp was the story last week. Certainly not tonight.
Yeah, you look at Kopp's numbers, obviously disappointment. And Bell, again, you know, he's the #1 rated passer, and he quietly put together a tremendous afternoon. 390 yards, 2 touchdowns. It wasn't spectacular by any means, but boy, did he ever put up a lot of great numbers.
And many of those numbers being chalked up in the second half. It was slow for that Argo offense. Jay Barker in still, and Bookman is wrapped up this time and going nowhere. Bookman getting some time at running back, but joins the long list of return specialists the Argos have gone through this year. They started with James Dye, who lasted 1 game, had a good game against Saskatchewan, and then quit the team. And then Cato Hitson, what an impact he made before, I believe, breaking his leg.
Yeah, he had like a 26-yard average before he was injured.
And a couple of touchdowns.
Yeah.
So Don Matthews has had to do some juggling there. That Steve Smith, I believe, and of course they've always wanted to avoid using Pinball Clements in too many return roles. And
Eric Bigos can get away with that face mask as long as he's making field goals.
Every time we see a shot of him, Glenn Suter smiles. Just loves that face mask. Bigos this time pushes it off to the left. He misses for the 2nd time today, but he has had a pretty good day. And another point goes on the board as Blunt just runs it out and slams the football down. Another point on the board for the Argos to make it 39-14, 3:22 on the Sky Dome clock.
Well, this win for the Argos will make tomorrow's game that much more interesting for the Montreal Alouettes. I mean, this is a team right now sitting at 8-3. They play Hamilton, who they lost to last week. Now the Argos at 7-5, 1 game behind for that home playoff spot. And Dave Ritchie has stated many times he does not want to play Toronto here in the Dome. He wants to get them outdoors in Molson Stadium in Montreal, get that home field advantage. So that makes tomorrow's game that much more important.
No question the Argos are heading for another year in the playoffs, although it's different circumstances fighting for first place this time. And the one thing I think Toronto wants to avoid is having to go on the road for 2 games or having to win in Montreal and in Hamilton. That would be a tough haul. Still lots of games to play, though. Dumped off by Kopp to Blunt. Kopp still in this game and looks like he will be in there for the rest of the way. As you pointed out earlier, I guess, just to get him the experience.
Yeah, you just get him some more experience. This is just like practice time now for Kopp. He's out there just trying to execute the offense, trying to get something positive to happen. But, you know, I mean, when you talk about home field advantage and this Argo team, they don't want to go into Molson Stadium because that is a real atmosphere now.
Certainly is. We're going to take another break here. 2:53, the 3-minute warning given. Winnipeg still down by a lot.
Your favorite CFL team now has their logo on your favorite credit card. It's the CFL MasterCard credit card. Support your team and take advantage of the benefits that over 346 million MasterCard cardholders worldwide are enjoying. Each stylized card has your team's logo on it. So support your team 12 months a year and pull out your card. Call 1-877-4CFL now for your CFL MasterCard credit card. When you pay with us, you play with us.
Three teams in the East above 500, the Argos and the teams that Toronto's looking up at right now. Montreal and Hamilton, they met last week. And the Tiger Cats won that to move to 9-2. We've got it for you on TSN tomorrow from Ivor Wynne Stadium. That pass is complete to Mitch, running, coughs it up. Donald Smith takes it. Even after a big game, the Bombers give it up. And now it's Adrian Smith on the toss. Picking up more yardage. Could be gone. Kopp chasing him. Adrian Smith with another Argo touchdown as he very cavalierly goes in and does a little dance. It took him a while to cross the line.
Well, this one hurts if you're Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Even when it goes right, it goes wrong.
Don Smith decides to pitch it out. Adrian Smith outruns everybody. The score really irrelevant at this point, but that one hurts if you're a Winnipeg Blue Bomber, no question.
Rub some salt in the wounds to be sure.
No question about it.
Becoming a busy day for Bigos and converts alone. That one's good to make it 46-14. Smiles all around now. Nick Volpe there with Adrian Smith, and here's how it all happened, Glenn.
Yeah, it was a good throw by Kopp to get it to Mitch running, but then he just coughs it up, gets hit from behind by Eric Johnson. That ball bounces around, and then the fun begins. Don Smith, with no pressure on him and the big lead, can have a little bit of fun. Just run around and then see his buddy. A little pitch out there. Got the option, and we're on the run. I like the Adrian Smith matchup on Chris Perez. That's not really fair. To the outside, Kopp can't get there, and Adrian Smith finds the end zone.
It took him a while to find it, although, doing a little dance at about the 1-inch line. There was a block by Demetrius Maxey on Mike Mihalik. Just laid him out just as he took the toss. Eric Johnson's had a couple of notable plays. Had the blitz earlier on.
Certainly has. I mean, and this is you. If you're Mike Mihalik, you do not want to have this happen at this stage in the game. Watch the block that you just talked about. It's right there. Watch this hit on Mike Mihalik. Doesn't even see it coming. And it was a clean shot by Demetrius Maxey. At this stage in the game, you don't want to have to take a couple of those. No, thank you.
Bigos on the kickoff. 46-14 Argos. Demetrius Stanley with it and taken down 24-yard line. Demetrius Stanley was one of the brighter points, certainly, especially last week when he caught the touchdown pass to win it for Winnipeg from Kopp last week. Came from Ohio State and played behind the likes of Joey Galloway with Seattle now in the NFL, and also Terry Glenn with New England.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of very good pieces to this Winnipeg puzzle. They're obviously missing a few. They have very inexperienced quarterbacks, which has really hurt them throughout this season. But look at their offensive line. You look at Mihaly, Craig Henderson, Chris Perez. I mean, an all-star bunch up there of very good football players. They do have good receivers back. When you think of Milt Stegall, very high on Mitch running. There are some good players in this organization. Just haven't been able to get it together.
And that one, typical of the day, I should say, goes sailing out of bounds. Milt Stegall in the area, but still no catches for him. Tonight's game ball brought to you by the Keg Steakhouse and Bar. Great steaks, good friends. See you tonight. And this afternoon, Kerwin Bell had it going 25 for 40, and somehow, I mean, it wasn't that great a first half, but it really wasn't a second half. And Kerwin Bell, top-rated quarterback in this league, has been making it happen.
Absolutely, and it's nice to have a guy like Daryl Mitchell to throw to, and saw the two talking on the sideline and going over some of the big plays they executed this afternoon.
He's certainly done his part for helping the Argos forget about Doug Flutie. He does not have the mobility of Flutie, but my goodness, he's dangerous once he can step up under pressure, as you pointed out, and see his targets. He's had some nice passes today.
Yeah, and I thought it was a great comment by Chris Schultz in the studio, saying that, you know, he's very tough. I mean, he's a guy who will hold the ball as long as he has to deliver the strike. Kerwin Bell will stand in the pocket. He's not very mobile. He'll take some hits to deliver the strike and win football games, and you got to admire that from the quarterback position. That's the kind of thing that you rally around as a team.
Third and 1. Last time in this situation, the Bombers turned it over on downs, and this one, if they got it, well, it was inches. They did get it. Kopp just goes over top, so they'll continue to hang on, move the football.
I guess it's safe to say it's been a long year for Jeff Reinebold.
Well, hopes were high. I remember the opening day, July the 1st against Montreal. Winnipeg at home. They lost by 3 as Kopp airs it out. Nearly has it. It's dropped. Intended for 82, Travis Anderson on the play, but no good.
Well, it tightens things up for the Eastern race for second place anyways, with Toronto now inching up to Montreal. One game behind them. Of course, we talked about Montreal and Hamilton playing tomorrow afternoon. Big win for both teams. I mean, Montreal closed the gap on first place with a win.
A long time since we could say there were 3 teams that were powerful or strong in the East. That's completed to Mitch running. He hangs on to the football and has a first down at the Argo 35. 1:30 to go, and Kopp still showing that same kind of spirit that ignited the Bombers last week.
When we talk about Winnipeg and Montreal, they will face each other next week. So things don't get easier for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
They don't, but I remember the way the Bombers played them. It was Mike Pringle, wouldn't you know it, of course, in the fourth quarter that did it in. But Winnipeg had the lead in the opening day. Montreal had to come back and win that one 27-24, but that was a good game for the Bombers. It just went downhill from there.
Well, they've had a bunch of games like that. I mean, they've had a bunch of games where they've been in it for 3 quarters of play, and then one mistake, one fumble, interception. You think back to that game they played against the Hamilton Tiger Cats in Winnipeg. Just before the half, TJ Rubley throws a costly interception for a touchdown, and that was really the ball game. I mean, one mistake here and there has really been the problem for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, but they have competed in games.
Out of the shotgun. Downfield, Kopp, caught, running, and he's down to the 1-yard line. Running, catches it, almost running, and down he goes.
That's a chance to try and get on the same page with one of your receivers. I mean, obviously won't have anything to do with the outcome of this game, but Mitch running and Troy Kopp can get on the same page. It might pay off next week or the week after, and it's obviously what the Bomber coaching staff hoping for in the future.
They hand off. They've got a touchdown. And their first offensive touchdown of the day, far too late in the game to make a difference. Eric Blunt trots in, 1:09 to go. But something perhaps for Winnipeg to build on as they try to at least get some of the momentum and good feeling that they had last week against Saskatchewan. This has been an awful afternoon.
Yeah, what you got to be careful though when you're Winnipeg watching the game film is that you don't take much into this drive. I mean, you got to look at this and say This was a Argo defense that had the game well in hand, was playing way off receivers, giving them lots of room, and you have to go back to the first half and just try and analyze what you did wrong in that half, what you could have done better, and regroup for the next week.
As soon as this game is over, we leave CFL Live and we will go to Saturday afternoon baseball on TSN. Stick around. The baseball leading up to this evening's game, Tampa Bay, the Jays, the Devil Rays. Von Fake, two-point convert, succeeds again, and once again it is running, helping with the passing game. Another 2 points on the board for the Bombers, adding some respectability to this score now.
And some stats for Mr. Running. But that's about it. And, you know, you got to credit Don Matthews in the game plan that he had ready for Troy Kopp. I mean, Don Matthews isn't the winningest coach in CFL history for nothing. I mean, this guy knows how to game plan against young quarterbacks or veteran quarterbacks, and boy, they had a good one set up for Troy Kopp.
He was asked a lot of questions about Troy Kopp, asking if he bought into all the excitement and the hype, and he basically said, and I guess he had reason to say this, it's shown today, you can't get all excited about 18 minutes of football. Let's see what he has against a different defense. He certainly didn't have it today.
And we didn't see TJ Rubley, who I guess was a bit of a surprise, but like we mentioned earlier, TJ Rubley had half a season to get some reps and get some experience, and now they're giving some reps to Troy Kopp.
And all lined up to the right side for Winnipeg for the short kick of Troy Westwood. Great kick. Right in the hands of George Namako. Excuse me, Mike Pinball Clements in there contributing on special teams as well. The pinball has it with 1:06 to go on the clock. Argo football.
Well, you don't want Mike Clements injured with the game well in hand and him playing special teams. But when you get to the special teams, and when I say that, I'm talking about hands team on onside kicks like we just saw, you have your starters in there. You have all your best players with the good hands, you know, on the field. So that doesn't change just because you have a big lead. And Mike Clements had to be on the field there. You just don't want to have him hurt in that situation. And you won't see him on offense.
Not at this point in the game. Well in hand for Toronto. A 24-point lead still. Pretty high-scoring game given the fact there were only 7 points in the first half. And once again, handoff there to Anthony Bookman, seeing some time in this fourth quarter as a running back.
Jay Barker gets a few more reps. Bookman gets some reps. He gets some rookie offensive linemen up front. I mean, the ones that haven't been thrown out.
One thing, I was talking to Jim Barker, Argo assistant coach, yesterday, and he had talked about, we were mentioning earlier, as the Argos continue to pursue the Ticats and the Alouettes. I think part of the major incentive for this team, make sure if you can't get first place, get second, so you don't have to be on the road in the playoffs for the whole time. I mean, we saw Saskatchewan do it last year, having to go through Alberta. They beat Calgary in Calgary. They beat the Eskimos in Edmonton. But that doesn't happen every year. Third place teams just don't go waltzing onto the Grey Cup. And there's Jim Barker, who was talking to yesterday about that.
Yeah.
Their incentive, I mean, they still have major incentive for first place, obviously. They still have time to get that. They're going to need some help along the way, but...
No, you want to play at home. It's you sleep in your own bed before the playoff games. You're comfortable in your surroundings, and then when you arrive at the stadium, you don't have the fans against you. You definitely want that home field advantage in at least one round of the playoffs. The bye, obviously, the ultimate goal.
Just handing off again. Once again, Bookman. And rumbles down. Another first down. That was on third down inside the 35-yard line. Coming up this evening, looking a little tougher for the Toronto Blue Jays, who lost to Tampa Bay last night. Still 5 back in the wild card race. They have 8 games to go. They take on the Devil Rays again tonight. 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 p.m. Pacific time. Boston lost as well last night, but time is running out for the Blue Jays. Remarkable, though, that they have been in a race in September.
Well,
back after the All-Star break. I don't think too many people saw that coming.
Yeah, and the nice thing about the game last night is that they finished it in time so we could show the other game in its entirety.
No miracle comeback for the Bombers on this day at Skydome. Kerwin Bell and the Argos win it, and win it big. Toronto improves to 7-5, beating Winnipeg 46-22.
CFL Live on TSN is brought to you by Gatorade. Is it in you? And by the Keg Steakhouse and Bar. For great steaks, good friends. See it tonight.
We will be back tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. The Hall of Fame game. Al's Tabbies continue their fight for first in the East. Up next, let's go surfing, dude. All three National League wildcard contenders are in action. We'll diamond surf between those games. And, of course, keep a close eye on Sammy Sosa as he chases 64 and beyond. Then it's the Jays in Tampa. They need a miracle now. We can tell you Boston did lose this afternoon. Here in Toronto, Winnipeg's winning streak ends at 1. An impressive 46-22 win by the Argos. Enjoy the baseball, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow afternoon.